The meeting to order tonight. Can we have roll call, please?
Thank you, Chair. Youth Commissioner Langleys?
Here.
Member Hutnik? Member Fiore?
Here.
Member Shaziki?
Here.
Vice Chair Shu?
Here.
Chair Hedges?
Here.
All present. Thank you.
Thank you. And Alma, since this is your last night with us forever, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Alma. We now have a city manager update. This is a new one. I like it.
Yeah.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. I'd like to acknowledge the career of someone who has not only shaped the physical landscape of Norco, but also helped define its animal keeping, equestrian-oriented community and future, Alma Robles, our Community Development Director. She began her journey with the city in 1999 as an assistant planner. She steadily rose through the ranks to associate planner, then our senior planner, and ultimately became our community development director, a role in which she has truly left her mark. In her career as a testament of growth, perseverance, and vision, she didn't just grow with Norco, she helped Norco grow. Among her many accomplishments, and with the support of our housing element consultant, she successfully led the certification of the 2129 housing element by the state, a milestone achievement that ensures Norco remains a community of opportunity and thoughtful planning. She initiated the update to the city's general plan, laying the groundwork for a more resilient and forward-thinking Norco. She spearheaded the update to the city's objective development standards for multifamily and mixed-use projects, ensuring the growth aligns with our community's core values and animal keeping lifestyle. She managed the moratorium of new industrial projects and led to the update to development standards uses in the M1 and industrial district of the Gateway Specific Plan, which balances our economic development with community needs. She also facilitated and managed the assessment of the Code Compliance Enforcement Program with the goal of increasing efficiency and effectiveness, and an effort that has already begun to yield positive results. And she also oversaw the creation of our ADU legalization program, expanding housing options while preserving the character of our neighborhoods. Each of these accomplishments reflect not just her technical expertise, but a deep understanding of Norco's identity and a commitment to its lifestyle. While we will miss her presence in the office, her legacy will continue to shape Norco for years to come. On behalf of the city, we thank you for your service, your leadership, and your heart. She has the biggest heart that I know of anybody. We wish you joy, rest, and adventures in your next chapters of life. Congratulations on your retirement.
Thank you. We'll now have the appeal notice read. I'm not sure who's doing it.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In the event that you disagree with any action taken by the Planning Commission in regards to your application, is that the statement to be read tonight?
Yes.
Or with any condition of approval of the application, which is not a specific requirement of the Norco Municipal Code, you are entitled to appeal such determination or conditions to the Norco City Council, provided that such appeal is filed with the Norco City Clerk within 10 calendar days after the requirements for appeals, inclusive of payment of an appeal fee.
Thank you. Do we have public comments? City Clerk?
Yes, this is the time when persons wishing to address the presiding governmental body regarding matters not on the agenda may be heard. Please submit a speaker card to the meeting clerk. Please limit comments to 3 minutes or less. The Ralph M. Brown Act limits the governmental body ability to respond to comments on non-agendized matters at this time. Such comments are made. The governmental body shall not discuss or act relative to any general public comment. For general comment, we have one speaker card, and that is Richard Gregory.
Hi, good afternoon. Hi, I'm here on behalf of our business. My wife and I own the e-bike wagon over nestled off of 6th Street in Center in Norco. Recently, we've been added we're asking for our code enforcement notification to be revisited. We don't feel it's very fair that we're being asked to remove our signs or to pay a fee that's 2 weeks. That's $90 every 2 weeks. So we'd like to be able to bring this back up on the count of waiving feathered flags on outside of our business. We don't think is against the law, and it shouldn't be against the law, and we shouldn't be charged to be able to do that. It's on a 2-week basis, and we're just asking the council to revisit this and to give us at least some clear guidelines, because there are no clear guidelines to it. I understand that we don't want a bunch of ugly flags running around, but if you notice, our company uses wood grain. We try to stay with our humble cities effects. We also have other banners that, like we're big supporters of Horse Week, the fair, Posse Rodeo, and we pay a lot of money. It's $2,500 to fly this flag, and for us out of our pocket. And our sponsors support us to do that, and by supporting us, they give us banners and feathered flags to represent the company. And we just feel that it needs to be revisited, because if you drive up down Hamner, and I've checked with other business owners in town, they're not being cited for their flags. And they have the same exact feathered flags that we do. We have to advertise. As challenging as it is to be in commerce in this city or anywhere else, we need all the help we could get. And so if we're flying a flag that says open or checkerboards or whatever outside of our business, they're not left out overnight. Mine aren't. I can't speak for anybody else, but our e-bike wagon signs are not out overnight. And it's not fair that we have to pay taxes, we have to pay this, we have to pay everything else, and not be able to fly our logo outside of our own business. Like I said, I've checked with other businesses. I haven't checked with the lottery, but their signs sure aren't bothering anybody, and they're all over both streets. And anybody that disagrees can go ahead and go down 6th Street, go up Hamner, and those signs seem to be fine, which I don't see that's fair. So that's why I'm asking the council and the planning commission to revisit this. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have no further public comment.
Okay, we'll go now to the consent calendar and the approval of the planning commission minutes from last time.
Any comments?
Any comments? If not, we'll move to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the Planning Commission meeting minutes from November 12, 2025.
Second.
I will call for vote. Youth Commissioner Langlease,
Yes.
Member Hutnick,
Yes.
Member Fiore,
Yes.
Member Shizuki,
Yes.
Member Shu,
Yes.
Chair Hedges.
Yes,
Motion passes unanimous. Thank you.
thank you. We'll now move on to agenda item 4A, and is this yours, Michael? I'm sorry, wrong direction. Forgive me.
Hello, Chair and fellow commission members. This is a site plan.
Yes, I have to go and recuse myself.
I need to recuse myself as well.
We're good? Okay. So this site plan is a request to construct a shell building for specifically office use, including lot improvements on a vacant lot located at 3881 Center Avenue within the C4 commercial zone. Here we have the location with the zoning. The blue outlined parcel there is the parcel in question. It is currently zoned C4 along with the surrounding parcels. I would note that the parcel to the south does have a residence on it. Here is the most recent aerial view of the parcel currently. The surrounding uses, notably to the south is the residential. There's some sort of contractor storage to the east, and then the rest is typical commercial activity. So for the site plan, the red area is the structure. They also indicated where the dwelling unit is. They are proposing right-of-way improvements in that gray area to the satisfaction of our engineer, or Public Works Division. Here's the proposed landscaping. They're providing more landscaping than otherwise required by our code for that zone. This is the proposed floor plan intended for office use. These are the elevations. I would note that the Architectural Review Committee, if you see the blue square, that item was extended at the request of the Architectural Review Committee. And this is the rear view of the property, or the structure. This is the color elevations of the structure. And the rear view. It does currently meet the C4 development standards as detailed in our municipal code. Some notable items. So this is intended for office use, and any modification to that would require a site plan modification. Photometric plans are going to be submitted prior to building permit issuance. The driveway and street improvements that I mentioned earlier are going to be provided to the satisfaction of the Public Works Department. No outdoor storage is permitted on that property, and there's currently no active enforcement cases on the property. There was an active or a code case that was resolved previously on this property. So the findings, as detailed in the site plan section of our code. So first finding is the requested site plan will not adversely affect the general plan or public convenience, general welfare of persons residing or working in the neighborhood. Norco general plan has designated the site as CC, commercial community, with a C4 commercial zoning designation. The project is consistent with this underlying zoning, and the proposed use can be operated in a manner to be compatible with other permitted uses. The second finding is the requested use will not be adversely affect adjoining land uses or future growth within the C4 commercial zone due to undue environmental impacts. The proposed use will not inhibit or induce growth or development beyond what is already anticipated per the city general plan. Third finding is the size and shape of the subject site is adequate to allow full development of the proposed use, consistent and in compliance with applicable development standards. The project will construct the structure to accommodate office uses with site and building design complying with all pertinent standards in the underlying C4 commercial zone. The City of Norco, acting as the lead agency, has determined that the project is categorically exempt from the environmental assessment per CEQA section 15303 class 3, new construction or conversion of small structures. And this is just a little explanation because of the building size, it qualifies for that exemption. Then the recommendation, staff recommends approval of site plan 2025-02 with conditions and has attached resolution 2025-19 for consideration. Additionally, we would recommend, or staff would recommend adding a condition for the roofing material to be standing seam metal roofing instead of asphalt shingle. And, oh, there we go. And that is the end of the presentation.
Thank you. Now, questions from staff? Dennis?
Okay, as far as parking lot lighting goes, that butts up into a residential area. Are they planning on putting lights on the face of the building facing out towards the park, the driveway and parking lot area? I see they have a LED light at the entrance, but it doesn't say any other lighting.
So any additional lighting would be reviewed with the photometric plan. As I understand it, the intent was not to avoid shining undue light into the adjacent property, residential property.
Yeah, the main thing I'm concerned with is that it doesn't shine into the neighbors, it's one thing to live next to a commercial area, but have some respect for the R1 or the residential areas, in place of that. Also, this project is really similar to the project that went in on Hillside Avenue and 6th. It's done in basically a similar location. There's a commercial business on the corner, and then the next lot in is the same thing. It's the same type of building and whatever. What they did was they had issues with, for lack of a better term, transient people coming into their business. I would like to suggest at this time part of their planning and their setup is to put in security gates so they can lock up at night, because they're going to find there's a group of people that kind of hang out there by the Circle K, which is right next door, and I got a feeling that they're going to move over and take residence in their area. So just my thought, it'd be a protection, it'll help out the law enforcement, it'll help out the fire department for issues, etc. So maybe that'll do it. And then lastly, on the landscape plan, if you look at it, they have along the western side, you see that planter there, they have let's see, what is it? Red yucca. Red yucca is poisonous to horses and is poisonous to people. They might want to reconsider planting those plants in that planter. It's not a good idea. It's kind of like in the old days when we used to plant, stuff that they end up tearing out a while back. So just to protect the horse people. The plants lose their leaves, they blow across the street. I believe the horse trail's on the opposite side of the street. I'd rather not see any animals getting sick over something that can be easily solved at the conception of the project. So other than that, I'm good to go.
Sarah, any questions? Jeff?
So first, thank you for responding to the architectural review and updating the elevation. One thing that I did not review when it first came was building code related items. And normally it's not in the purview for us to review the code compliance aspect of it. But specific to this site, because of how tight it is, I need to bring this up. In this design, it's not providing a code-required accessible path of travel to the public right-of-way. And in this case, because I don't see how they can accommodate that within this current design, I would like to see that revised before I'm able to move forward with any recommendation on this. And before I kind of wrap up on that one, additional item is the 25-foot drive aisle. It is also overlapping the roof, the overhang on the building, so I'm not sure what exactly our code requirements are on that. So 2 items. I'm not sure how to proceed on that. I would like to see an updated site plan before I'm able to move forward on it.
Yeah, my only concern, at least questions of staff now, was the low wall in the beginning was 20 feet is 3 foot in height, and was that for visibility of coming out of the driveway, or why do we have 20 feet of 3 feet and then go to 6 feet?
Perhaps that would be a question for the applicant. I'm not exactly aware of any requirement for that wall to be that short.
I just wondered if we can ask the applicant, that's fine. Is the applicant here? Please
I
come up.
believe they should be.
We'll open the public hearing. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Fred Cohen. I'm with CJC Design, architect, principal designer of the project. Just to answer a few of the questions. First, I'd like to thank Michael and the entire staff. This project came before, I believe, some of you guys, and last year, which we had the building at the back, and again, the staff wasn't too pleased, so we went back to the drawing board. It got denied back then. Went back to the drawing board, came up with the new design, smaller building, better accessibility. As far as some of the questions that came up from the members, and as far as the lighting issue, of course, we're going to provide a photometric plan. All these lights are going to be shielded downwards. It's not going to have any issues as far as spilling over the property. Security gate, fantastic idea. We have no problem. Landscaping, of course, anything we're going to present it to the to the city and whatever approved. As far as the path of travel to the building, originally we did have it, and actually building department mentioned that it's not required, so it was removed.
Go ahead.
Who from building indicated that? This is a public building, which needs to comply with.
It's not actually a public building. It's going to be a private office for the owner. It's not going to be actually accessibility for the public. That's why we have no problem actually putting the gates up. There's not going to be an issue. It's not like a retail. Yes, I do have actually the previous comments from the building department to remove the path of travel.
Question. I'm not sure. I'm looking at everybody here. Who gave that recommendation or that comment? I would like to find that out.
But with that said, again, we have no problem providing access.
And here's my issue and why I raised it. Like I said, normally for the planning commission, we're not looking at building codes, but knowing what I know and looking at this, I'm not seeing how you could provide 42 inches of access to the public right-of-way within this because you're so tight on space.
No, absolutely. What we can do is actually push the building forward towards the center, move the parkings in the back. So that we provide direct access from the public right-of-way. Oh, one of the reasons, actually, I remember why we didn't have a path of travel, because there is no access, actually, path of travel or sidewalk currently.
Code requires you to bring it to the public right-of-way. It does
public.
not require you to
Agreed.
It does
I'm
not
not
require you to
arguing.
provide that once it gets to the public right-of-way, but any of the buildings supposed to provide that, which is my concern. And if our staff, if our city is saying that it doesn't need it, I need to know why.
Absolutely. Again, no issues. I'm not arguing. I've done it. I've done mostly, to be honest, with gas stations, many of them in city of Norco. And I know the commercial codes, ADA accessibility, full terms. I have no problem. Like I said, very easily we can move the building to the west. I believe that's
Well,
the west towards the,
I think that will have its own challenges because we have street setback to the building. And so,
I believe that's 10 feet.
looking at the number of parking that is required on the site, and you're meeting the minimum requirement. So I'm looking at this, and I'm not, and I haven't put a ton of time into it, but I don't see an easy solution that would address the access issue.
I see. Again, I can provide that part as far as building recommending removal of that, because there
And-
was no access to the public sidewalk.
And here's the thing, I'm not the building official.
Absolutely.
I am not speaking for the public official, the building official either, but I know our building code. And if someone that is representing our city is telling you that you don't need it, I would like to know who that is so that I can have a
And why.
private conversation with our city staff on why these directives are being given.
Of course, I understand. Lastly, as far as the wall, I'm sorry
No, it's
to
all
just jump into that.
No, no problem.
As far as the wall, the main reason, as you mentioned, is just the visibility. As the cars traveling,
Was it a visibility by the neighbor or you?
no, visibility by us. As far as the wall stepping down to 3 feet, so the car exiting the property can easily see traffic coming in.
I understand that. I'm just wondering whether the owner, the person next door would want to have more privacy as opposed to 20 feet of open 3 foot.
Any issues, no problem, that wall can, I mean, it's not a cost
So you
issue.
did it mainly for visibility?
For visibility, absolutely.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, thank you. I'll let one out. Well, we'll bring it back to us, but perhaps, do we have any, I'm
We have
sorry.
no public comments on
Oh,
this item.
yes, Mike?
There was a slight error on the PowerPoint. The resolution number is not 19, but is actually 2025-28. I do apologize for the inconvenience.
I don't even see the original 19. I see it 2025-02 or 28.
Oh, sorry, 2025-19 is incorrect.
Should be 19.
Should be 28 for
28,
the
okay.
resolution.
It is 28,
Oh.
yeah, on ours.
Chair Hedges,
apologize.
staff can bring this back at our January meeting, address the issues that have been brought up at this meeting, including the redesign for the accessibility, accessible path of
Okay,
travel.
great, that's what I was going to
So
suggest.
should I
that-
make a motion to continue?
Yeah, I think. you
Yes,
need
that'd be good.
Okay.
to continue on the date.
I will make a motion to continue agenda item 4A for the approval of site plan 2025-02 to date specific of January 20th? No,
20th is too late.
14th,
14th.
2026.
Second. Second.
And I'll call for a vote. Yeah. You, Commissioner Langley's,
Yes.
Member Hutnick,
Yes.
and Vice Chair Shu,
Yes.
and Chair Hedges.
Yes, thank you. We'll
motion
wait for
passes.
other members to come back and. then we'll
Yes.
Okay, we're now going to move on to agenda item 4B, and Erica, this is yours. Thank you. You have 3 minutes. He said you had 3 minutes.
Be much faster than that. Okay, good evening, commissioners. It's a pleasure to always see all of you. Item 4B is a Accessory Building Use Permit 2024-09. This is a request to allow a 900 square foot large vehicle garage at 2118 Valley View Avenue. It is within the A120 zone, which is an agricultural low density zone. This is an aerial view of the location of the site. The lot area is, I think it's 0.79 acres, a little over 34,000 square feet of land. The lot is about 83% flat. There are a lot of vehicles on the property. The applicant has been cleaning it up. They did file this case the beginning of 2024, so it's been a process. The garage will help. And here is a site plan where you see hatched in the red. It's a 30 by 30, 900 square foot garage. The side setback is 22 feet. Here is a view of the elevations. The peak maximum height is a little over 16 feet. Eve height is 12. The development standards they are meeting for a large vehicle garage for the maximum height, size, lot coverage, they're at 21%. And as far as the setbacks are concerned, they also meet that. These are the findings that are required to be met. They are preserving the animal keeping on the property. It is actually an animal keeping property, and they are preserving that. The second finding, the requested accessory building use permit will not have an adverse effect on the public convenience, therefore, and will not adversely affect adjoining land uses, including runoff and drainage impacts and architectural compatibility. They are, again, there are a lot of vehicles on the site. 2 of them are inoperable. They're classic vehicles, and they are fixing them up. It's a hobby. There's no business on the site. It's just a hobby. So the garage is a benefit to helping clean up the site. As far as CEQA is concerned, it's an infill, class 32, and staff is recommending approval of the accessory building use permit 2024-09 with the attached conditions of approval on resolution 2025-29. And I'm here for any questions, and the property owner is also here. Ms. McDonald is here.
Thank you, Erica. Shannon, questions of staff?
No.
Kathy?
No.
Jeff? Dennis?
This is a steel building, is that correct?
Correct.
Could you get that microphone a little closer, please? This being a steel building, I was under the impression that the building construction should be conducive of the area that it's in. Is there more steel buildings in that area? In other words, does it blend in with the architecture of the whole area? Or is this just going to be a, for lack of a better term, a sore thumb that just stands out as here's a metal building in the middle of somebody's yard?
Well, it will have to match in color to the house, and it is allowed, but it is up to the planning commission. It's at your discretion. So I think it's a positive for this site because it does help them with the amount of 4 adults that live there with multiple cars. It is a positive. So, but it is up to your discretion.
No
Okay.
questions.
I just wanted to clarify that, that it was a metal building.
No
Yes, sir.
questions, sir? Okay. I have no questions either. Would you like to hear from the applicant? Would the applicant like to come up and speak? Please. Open the public hearing.
Good evening. We don't have a garage currently. This metal building will facilitate my husband being able to work on our tractors, our cars, in the confines of a building with a concrete slab. Right now, he's working in the dirt. We've been here 30 years, no garage. All of our grandkids, we've raised our kids and our grandkids there. 4 adults, we all have cars. I've got my mother-in-law and her caregiver living with us also. I need someplace to put some stuff. And I'm tired of all the little accessory buildings all over my yard. Accessory buildings gotta go, and we have to have a garage. We have to have a place to put stuff. The garage is architecturally as close to a barn-looking structure as we can get without actually building a barn. Most economic way we can get this structure done. In the colors of our house, with wainscoting, barn lights on the outside eventually, nice roll-up doors. It should match fine. We can see our neighbor's complete barn from across the street. I can see the metal building down the street from me. I can see the one up the street from me. I don't have a problem with them. And I don't see any of my neighbors here complaining.
Does anyone have questions of the applicant? No. We're good then.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. I'll bring it back to us in discussion. Kath?
I guess the only thing I think of when I look at the placement of it on the property is it kind of looks like an island, and there's an awful lot of animal keeping going on, and I'm assuming this is the best use from their perspective, or best location from their perspective. And yes, there's plenty of setback too, but it is a kind of a round robin to get to all the animal keeping, but it is a very unusual, grade-wise, a very unusual property to have a property so large and only have really the opportunity for one driveway, so that may be. True, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Shannon? No. Jeff? Dennis? Sarah? I'm happy with it. I like where they put the animal keeping in the back, and you can access it from either side. I drove by to see, so there's plenty of room to get back there and to the garage, so I'm happy the way they placed it, and I'm glad that they're painting it to match. At least it will blend in, so I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve Accessory Building Use Permit 2024-09 and the conditional approval on Resolution 2025-29.
I will second the motion.
I'll now call for vote. Chair Langlis?
Yes.
Member Hutnick?
Yes.
Member Fiore?
Yes.
Member Shizuki?
Yes.
Vice Chair Shu?
Yes.
Chair Hedges?
Yes,
Motion passes unanimous. Thank you.
thank you. We'll now move on to agenda item 5A. Alma, is this your last agenda item ever?
Last agenda. I'll try to be short, that way it's done. And we can move on. I'll go ahead, yes. This is the code amendment, that's the, yeah.
I thought we were going to have dual speaking
No.
here.
He's ready for the next one. He's ready. He's anxious. Good evening, Planning Commissioners. This agenda item 5A is Zone Code Amendment 2025-02. In a nutshell, it is an amendment to our existing ADU ordinance for compliance with state law. So just to give you a little bit of a background for the benefit of our newer commissioners, Government Code Sections 66310 through 66342 is basically the ADU, the state ADU law, and it requires local agencies to permit ADUs on lots with existing primary residences. State law authorizes local agencies to adopt ordinances relating to ADUs, provided that such local regulations must be consistent with the limitations in state law. State ADU law. Any local adopted regulations must be submitted to the Department of Housing and Community Development, which is known as HCD, for review, and HCD is required to make findings as to whether the local ordinance is consistent with state law. So for the past, as the commission is aware, we've had several amendments, and the amendments have been submitted for to HCD for them to review our ADU ordinance. So our ADU ordinance is section 18.30 of our Norco Municipal Code. And like I said, it's been amended several times, and it's always been submitted to HCD. Most recently, HCD has reviewed our ordinance, and HCD sent a letter to the city making several findings of inconsistencies with state ADU law. So here we are. The city responded to the letter, which their letter was provided in your packet, as well as our response to HCD. The city responded, and in response, the city did dispute some of the findings, while also committing to make changes for compliance with state law, primarily to clarify the provisions. On October 10th, 2025, Governor Newsom signed additional legislation relating to state ADU law, which will become effective January 1st. So this zone code amendment makes amendments to the city that the city committed to in the letter that was received and which we responded to HCD. And also, it will address the amendments necessitated by the adoption of SB 543 and AB 1154. And also, we included other edits for clarity and consistency with state law. So HCD's comments on the city's ADU ordinance primarily centered on clarifying exceptions to the city's standards, specifically with respect to ADUs permitted under Section 66323 of the state's ADU law, primarily relating to state-exempt ADUs, and the requirement in Section 66321 of the state ADU law that the city waive compliance with certain development standards if compliance will preclude an at least 800 square foot accessory dwelling unit with a 4-foot side and rear yard setback to be constructed in compliance with all local development standards. In its response to HCD, the city did commit to amend the city's ADU ordinance to clarify the exceptions. And when we talk about these exceptions, are basically ADUs that are exempt from city requirements, but provided they meet the state law. State exempt ADUs are those ADUs that meet the requirements of, as I indicated, of state law. If an ADU qualifies for state exempt ADU, then the city can only require compliance with the development standards in that pertinent section. Compliance with development standards in the city's ADU ordinance is not required. For single-family properties, this section 66323 requires that the city to allow up to 3 ADUs on a lot. So one junior ADU, which is within, as the commission may know, which is within the interior of an existing home. One detached ADU, new construction only, not to exceed 800 square feet. And one attached ADU within the existing space of a home or an accessory structure on the lot. Basically what it is, we're referring to like a conversion. And those are the ADUs that could qualify for exemptions, which would be required, well, basically each city in California would be required to allow up to 3 ADUs, provided they meet the exemptions as listed in the state ADU law. HCD demanded that certain provisions of the city's ADU ordinance be removed, which the most important, well, the most one of biggest concern related to the preservation and animal keeping. However, the city disagreed, and you saw the letter that was written to HCD. disagreed with those demands as they were inconsistent with state ADU law and HCD's handbook. And HCD puts out a handbook every so often, and I believe the most recent one is in 2025. So with the help of our legal team, they did make the finding that's like, no, we're still consistent by requiring the preservation of an open animal keeping area. And findings have been included in the proposed resolution that hopefully the commissioners were able to read, that will be included in the proposed ordinance for adoption by the City Council to support the city's refusal to make those changes as required by state law. So the biggest change to the city's ADU ordinance as a result of new legislation is the adoption of application processing, timelines, and procedures. SB 543 added the requirement local agency must determine an application for an ADU is complete or incomplete within 15 days of receipt. Now, not approval, but when somebody turns in an application, we have to make a determination that it's complete. So we have 15 days to do that. SB 543 also provides an applicant with a right to appeal a determination of incompleteness and or a denial of a permit for an ADU. So all that has been specified. We just wanted to point out, we did provide a red line version within your packet, so that shows you all the changes that were done to the existing ADU ordinance, and it incorporates what I just mentioned right now. In addition, as required by SB 543, the maximum square footages for ADUs are updated to specify that they are maximum interior livable space, not exterior, but interior. And it's pretty much consistent with whatever the the building code requires as far as measurement of floor area for livable. Let's see, as required by AB 1154, and this is a one that I believe it's a pretty important one. Owner occupancy will no longer be required for a junior ADU if it has its own sanitation facilities apart from the primary residence. As the commission may recall, basically a state law allowed us to require that a junior ADU be occupied by the property owner, either the junior ADU or the primary residence, but that is no longer the case provided they meet this qualification. Other clarifying edits, definition was added for attached and detached ADUs, and we revised the existing language for consistency to utilize the defined terms. Definitions were added to included in the state ADU law that were missing from the ordinance, so that's basically kind of a cleanup. The maximum size of a detached ADU was decreased from 1,200 square feet to 850 square feet for a studio or one bedroom, or 1,000 square feet for 2+ bedrooms, as permitted in ADU law. And again, keep in mind that the reality is that it ends up being close to 1,200 anyways, because you're actually going to be measuring from the interior. So you're going to end up basically with the same. And before the question comes up, we did check our pre-approved ADU plans, so they would be consistent with this amendment. So that's still going to be in compliance with even with these amendments. Other clarifying amendments, we increased the number of detached ADUs permitted on a lot with existing multifamily residents from 2 to 8. And we added a new subsection regarding the legalization of unpermitted ADUs constructed before January 1st, 2020, consistent with previous amendments in state law. And with that, I will conclude my presentation. The recommendation this evening is for a recommendation by this Planning Commission that the City Council approve Zone Code Amendment 2025-02. And I will conclude my presentation. I will do my best to answer any questions. And if I don't have the answer, we can always come back to clarify. And I will conclude. Well, I won't be here when you ask to clarify. So.
January.
So thank you very much.
Thank you. Sarah, any questions of staff? Dennis, questions of staff? Jeff?
So I understand that most of these are boilerplate and we don't have a lot of flexibility because it's state-required revisions. I do want to ask about the fire sprinkler and if there's any latitude for us to push back on that. And I'll kind of quantify that. If we're looking at a detached, if we're looking at the 3 ADUs where we have the conversion, a detached, and a junior ADU, we're looking at potentially like 3,000 square feet of additional occupied space, which is probably doubling most of the existing occupancies. And so to me, especially with the fire hazard that we've had in the state, as well as the newly generated hazard maps, I feel like we have a good position to push back on this. And I'm just kind of wondering, is that something that we could or should push back on?
I don't know. I mean, I think the fire department is here also. I have Steve Payne in the, oh, yeah, that's right.
Do you have an opinion on this?
Good evening, Commissioner. Steve Payne, Deputy Fire Marshal, Riverside County Fire Department, proudly serving the city of Norco. So if you could just restate the question as far as the fire sprinklers and pushing back.
So the way that the state has requested us to revise it is that basically if the existing house does not have a requirement for fire sprinkler, then none of the ADUs would be required to have it. So it basically needs to match that. My concern is you can have the cumulative square footage of the ADUs being actually exceeding what the original building is, in which case it really seems to make sense that it should have to comply with current codes. And so the way that we're responding to it is basically if the existing building doesn't have fire sprinkler, then none of it would. And just from a kind of fire life safety perspective, it seems like we would have a good case to push back against that, to add some sort of language that, and this is one where I don't know because I don't deal with a lot of residential architecture, but what is the threshold where a residence would need to provide fire sprinkler?
Sure. So a couple things. First of all, we do have our local ordinance that has a fire sprinkler requirement. All new homes are required to have fire sprinklers. And then
Excuse me, is that regardless of square footage?
new homes are
Yes.
required to have fire sprinklers regardless of square footage, correct? And then we have our local ordinance that if they do a certain addition to the home, depending on the size and percentage of that addition, that may also require fire sprinklers to be included. Other than that, the ADU itself, I think we would have to probably get a legal opinion from HCD as to what we can or cannot push back on, because the state has issued some guidelines to say if an ADU is less than 1,200 square feet and the original home does not have fire sprinklers, the ADU is exempt from fire sprinklers. So there gets to be some gray area, again, because we're talking about some what-ifs, some hypotheticals, if they do this, if they do that. So we'd have to look into that a little bit more. I don't have an answer for you at this time.
And I understand that these recommendations are just, we're basically asked to comply with state law. But I guess from the fire department's point of view, would you recommend us pushing back against this, or are you in line with, I guess, the recommendation that if it doesn't have it, even if it doubled the square footage or whatever it is, then it doesn't need to have it?
I would have to defer to the city attorney on that issue.
Sorry, Teresa, I didn't send this one to you earlier.
I can tell you that the current law as it exists on the fire sprinkler issue, actually, the jurisdictions are allowed to require fire sprinklers in an ADU, but you cannot require them unless they're required in the primary dwelling unit, right? So if it's required in the primary dwelling unit, you can require them in the ADU.
If they're doing some type of interior remodel and that triggers a requirement for fire sprinklers, then you can require it in ADUs as well. I think the question that you have is interesting, and it's a little bit of the sort of counter to that. And I would be more than happy to take a look at, and these laws, as I think you all know, like every single year we're looking at this over and over again, and we're probably going to come to you with another ordinance change this time next year. I would be more than happy to do a legal memo and look into that issue specifically and find out exactly what we can do.
Yeah, I mean, we're recommending a resolution to the city council, so I think we can add something in there for that finding to be presented to the city council.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kathy, did you have any questions? Alma?
Only a little technical question. Page 63? Is there a D?
We can correct that definitely. Let's see.
There is a D, there's nothing after the D.
I mean, there might be, but it's hiding under imaginary print.
That is a typo. We can just correct that. Now, let me see.
Invisible ink.
It could be. Shannon, did you have anything? Oh, I'm sorry, Kath, you were done? Okay. No questions. Okay, no, I don't either. Do we have public? I didn't think we did. Okay.
We have no public comment for this item.
Well, we'll just bring it back to us, discussion and/or discussion, or do you want to make a motion? I don't know.
I will make a motion to approve Resolution 2025-33, recommending approval of Zone Code Amendment 2025-02 to the City Council, with the addition that we request the city attorney to look into the code as it may apply to the fire sprinkler requirement and present that finding to the City Council.
I'll second that.
I'll now call for vote. Youth Commissioner Langley's?
Yes.
Member Hutnick?
Yes.
Member Fiore?
Yes.
Member Shiziki?
Yes.
Vice Chair Shu?
Yes.
Chair Hedges?
Yes,
Motion passes unanimous. Thank you.
thank you. We'll now move on to item 5B. Mark, it's yours, Mark, take it.
Thank you, Chair Hedges and Commissioners. I'm up here because the project is a bit more complex than your weekly agenda and has multi-components. And it's a little longer in the presentation, but I will try to be as succinct as possible. I grabbed the remote.
That's not going to happen.
If you have trouble hearing me, let me know. Voice can be low at times. This project, as I mentioned, consists of several components, but I'd like to provide a bit of context and background to start with. The site's been owned by the Delape family, which is represented by their own corporation or limited partnership, TACRD Investments. The Delape family are longtime Norco residents, and they formerly operated a dairy facility at this site, and which was originally constructed in the 1960s and has been operated. It's no longer operating, but it had been operated for about 50 years. This proposal includes a general plan amendment, zone change, a tentative track map, which will ultimately allow the development of 64 single-family equestrian lots on approximately 35 and a half acres of a about 38-acre site. The project's located along River Road between Bluff Street and Sundance Lane. The project has evolved quite a bit since original discussions took place and applications were received in 2015. The applicant in 2016 did receive approval for a 32-lot subdivision with a minimum half-acre lots. However, this configuration proved to be financially inviable for the applicant. And then in 2022, the applicant submitted a new entitlement application for a 69-lot residential development, which was later refined to the current 64-lot proposal. At a Planning Commission hearing on this project, following circulation of a draft EIR, on June 11th, it was scheduled for that date, but it was continued off calendar due to several comments on the project to allow the applicant to address public comments as well as staff comments. And the project since then has been refined a bit and is now returning for formal review, for your formal review. Here's an aerial shot of the project site. You can see Bluff Drive and the Santa Ana River to the northwest, River Road to the southwest, and residential properties abutting the site to the southeast and north. Ted Brooks Park is located to the east of the project site, and Sundance Park is located directly to the south of the project site. The existing conditions for the site there are two parcels. One is about 31 acres, is owned by the Delape family. I'm sorry, 7 acres is owned by the Delape family, and 31 acres, wait, I have these backwards, I believe. 7 acres owned by the city and 31 acres owned by the family. The project is located in an urbanized area, as you notice from the overhead, and the Santa Ana River corridor is probably the most notable physical feature in the area. Surrounding land uses, the project site and all surrounding properties are zoned A120, which means a minimum 20,000 square foot site lot. And the half-acre minimum lot size, as I mentioned, does apply to the project under the current zoning and general plan. The project consists of a mix of lot sizes, which are intended to balance Norco's rural character and the project feasibility as well, financial feasibility. Specifically, there are 13 half-acre lots, 50 quarter-acre lots, and then the one existing home site, the Delape family tends to retain ownership of the original farmhouse, and family members will continue to reside on the property. And while most properties are minimum half-acre lots with A1 zoning in the area, there are several well-established neighborhoods in the city, such as those near Highland Elementary School, Norco Intermediate School, and along River Drive, that include quarter-acre lots with R1 zoning. The applicants designed the project to reflect and support Norco's rural character and equestrian-oriented lifestyle, and that means there are dedicated and deeded primary animal keeping areas, or PACAs, on each lot, including the smaller lots. There will be proposed new equestrian amenities, including in the future a public riding arena and round pen, which will be evaluated to support Norco's animal keeping and equestrian lifestyle. And then the horse trail network will be expanded, and that will include future trail connections along Bluff Street and along River Road. Wanted to comment on some of the goals of this project entitlement, which and a recap on the actual actions that need to occur tonight, or your recommendation tonight, if this moves forward, would be a general plan amendment to amend the policy to allow rezoning of existing A1 properties to a higher residential density under certain circumstances. A zone change to amend the zoning designations, which would be consistent with the general plan. The tentative tract map to divide the site into 64 individual home sites, and then a land exchange agreement, which would be submitted to the city council directly between the city and the applicant to facilitate the project. I'll get into those details in a minute. The summary table before you recaps the general plan amendment, zone changes, and the acreages assigned to each. The zone changes will include a park and open space of about 10.5 acres. Part of that will be the city property that's being rezoned. The policy amendment, excuse me, to the policy amendment to the general plan would be General Plan Policy 2.2.1A, which as it's currently written, does not allow rezoning to a lower density than exists. It basically says, thank you, the existing policy states that zones and similar agricultural residential specific plan districts with similar densities shall not be rezoned to a higher density for residential uses, as you see in the first policy. And the proposed revisions would basically state the same thing, but allow them to go forward if they're compliant with General Plan Policies 2.21D and 2.21E. And let me restate those just so to let you know, remind us of what is in there. 2.2.1D states that the city shall encourage residential open areas at a scale that encourages the small plots agricultural/animal keeping lifestyle. And 2.2.1E states that in residential zones that allow animal keeping, the city shall encourage lot development that adequately provides the necessary area and terrain to effectively maintain the health and safety of animals. So essentially what this policy amendment would do would be allow such rezones to move forward if they're consistent with the two policies I just read into the record. The general plan amendment then involves both a policy amendment that I just covered, as well as a land use map amendment and a complementary zoning code amendment. The request for the general plan would involve approximately 23.3 acres, which would change from residential agricultural is called RA, and public lands to residential low density, and a corresponding zone change. In addition, the request to amend the general plan designation of approximately 3.5 acres of the site from residential agricultural to parks and change the zoning accordingly. This exhibit in front of you shows how the existing general plan's land use map is very simple. Public land abutting Bluff Street on the north, and to the west and south, you have property owned by the applicant, the DeLape family. And that area is zoned residential agricultural. And then the proposed changes before you. The area to the northeast would be retained by the city as a public works operation and storage yard, which is used for currently. The area to the east, which is just to the east of the Southern California Edison power lines, would be a future park site, which may involve equestrian facilities, including a round arena, but that would need to be evaluated by the city at a future date. The light yellow area to the south would be large lot residential agricultural, 20,000 or half acre minimum. And then the low density residential is the area in amber, and that would be a quarter acre lot minimum. The site plan you see before you provides a better picture of the lotting, proposed lotting. You see the larger lots, the minimum half-acre lots along the southern and eastern border of the property. And then the lot to the west near, to the west of the site, you see the brown colored lot that is existing agricultural building, the existing family home. The corresponding zone change, again, it's very simple as it's currently depicted in our zoning code. It would be, is open space to the north along Bluff and A120, minimum 20,000 square foot sites to the south. The proposed zone change would change that to be, again, consistent with the general plan, and we would have the quarter-acre lots in, you see again in brown, and the larger half-acre lots in light yellow, and then the green is open space. To facilitate the project, a land exchange agreement between the city and the developer is proposed. Please, we'd like to note that there is a differential, as you can tell, between the amount of acres that the city is transferring to the applicant and then the applicant transferring to the city. The final EIR does require financial compensation, and that would be consistent with state law. The city would not be losing money by giving more land than it receives. There would be a net 4.73 acres. I was use the term loss or transferred to the developer from the city. And again, this will be submitted directly to City Council along with the project when this moves forward. Property tax, the city would receive some compensation and cover its costs through property tax reappraisals and also property that's never been on the rolls, including some of the city property. So there would be a revenue accruing to the city, as well as a community facilities district that would be formed. Those are conditions on the map. And the community facilities district will ensure the maintenance of all trails, all open space, all landscaping adjacent to public streets, and the streets themselves that are internal to the project. So city costs would be covered actually by future homeowners on site. Here's what the site looks like before the land exchange agreement. Again, these are property ownerships. And then following, if this is approved, there would be a minor reconfiguration with the developer owning property and developing property up to Bluff Street. I'd like to call your attention to an addendum to the staff report that was included in your packet today. There's been a lot of activity since the mail out of your packet, and we apologize for the late flurry of information. That packet does include modified conditions of approval on the map and some edits to the staff report that we became aware of in the last 24 hours. And the edits, if I can just call attention to them briefly, there is one change even to that. If you look at the second page of your handout, that's the memo from me to the planning, to your commission. Number 73. We've had discussions just today with the applicant and the environmental consultant expressing concerns about the wording of this condition, and we worked out some minor modifications to it, and I'll read that into the record. Again, if you'll turn to condition 73, which is the second page of that memo. proposed rewording is subsequent to the approval of the tentative tract map. The applicant shall provide an analysis for the implementation process to develop the open space area to create equestrian facilities as described within the staff report. The location and design of equestrian amenities shall be subject to review and approval by the community development director and the deputy city manager / director of community operations. And this change allows us to consider it in the future, but does not require it up front. It's not, because that has not been addressed in our environmental impact report or as part of the project description. So this allows us to still address the issue, but not make it integral part of the project at this time, which would require some modifications to the EIR. I'll now move into the actual actions for tonight, including the CEQA resolution, which, as you can tell from your packet, it's quite extensive. The draft EIR was circulated for public review in June and July of this year, and written comments were received from several organizations and one individual. And all their comments and responses are included in the final EIR, which is included with your packet. The draft EIR we did not send out again, but there's a link to the draft EIR, which is several hundred pages. So that is a link on your staff report to that document. Of the 19 environmental categories analyzed in the EIR, 18 of them were found to have no impact, or less than significant impact, or less than significant impact with mitigation. Only one impact category, which is in transportation, vehicle miles traveled, or VMT, was determined to be significant and unavoidable. The VMT analysis is now replaces intersection level of service impact analysis. It's amendment to state law and the CEQA guidelines a few years back, which did away with level of service analysis as part of for CEQA purposes and replaced that with VMT. And due to the rural nature of this project and lack of transit in proximity to it, the VMT could not be mitigated. We can't reduce the vehicle miles traveled by individual homeowners. The objectives for the project, and I probably could have started with this at the very beginning, which are outlined in the EIR, are to create a high-quality single-family equestrian community with horse and pedestrian trails, include a deed-restricted PACA on each lot to promote our animal-keeping lifestyle, to exchange acreage with the city to complete the surrounding horse trail network by connecting future trails along Bluff and River, and to widen River Road to its full width, complete with interchange improvements or intersection improvements at River and Bluff Street, and install landscaping along both streets. The EIR did analyze two primary alternatives, including the no project alternative, which was rejected because it did not meet the project objectives, any of the objectives that I just read into the record. Also, the EIR analyzed existing land use with no land exchange, which is similar to the project that was approved in 2016. The site would be developed on strictly the property owned by the applicant, just over 26 acres, and under the current zoning. And a total of 32 units could be developed under existing zoning, which would accommodate 107 residents. The existing parcel owned by the city would continue to be used by the city as a spoils or staging yard. And however, it would not result in any unavoidable adverse impact that could not be mitigated. So the VMT would not be over the threshold as established by the state and by our local standards. Therefore, this alternative, however, it would not meet two of the four project objectives, the final two that I had read into the record, would not meet the bottom two bullet points, trail connection and other road improvements. Therefore, this alternative was rejected. The draft EIR and the resolution include the CEQA findings of fact and a statement of overriding considerations, which are reasons to adopt a project despite it having environmental and other reasons, socioeconomic reasons to adopt a project that may have adverse impacts. And a mitigation monitoring and reporting program, which is the final document that the city will continue to monitor that ensure that the applicant complies with over time. The findings for the actual certification of the EIR, the facts and findings are quite extensive. However, the findings for your commission's action are that the EIR addresses all environmental effects and fully complies with CEQA, and that the commission would adopt the proposed project, recommends the council adopt proposed project and adopt the findings that are included in Exhibit A, that's the facts and findings, and the mitigation monitoring and reporting program included in Exhibit B to the resolution. Therefore, staff is recommending that the CEQA resolution recommending that the City Council certify the EIR is a staff recommendation included in your packet. The second resolution that staff is recommending is to adopt the general plan amendment and zone change. And this has several findings, which I won't read in their entirety. I'll simply summarize them. The first one is that it's consistent with the general plan and the general plan policy, and that it is consistent with the characteristics of neighborhoods in both the A1 and R1 zoning designations as defined by the general plan. Second, that the proposal is reasonably compatible with the area and the immediate surrounding area. Third, that the project is not detrimental to the public convenience and general welfare of the surrounding neighborhood. And fourth, the project is not injurious to surrounding properties, nor does it adversely impact the use of the adjoining properties. And now moving on to the zone change findings. The findings state that the requested zone change is necessary and desirable for the development of community in harmony with the objectives of the general plan. And the proposed zone change supports goal 2.2, which I read earlier, the small plot animal keeping goal. And furthermore, the general plan policies 2.21D and 2.21E will facilitate open areas to encourage small plot agricultural and animal keeping uses. Only three more findings, they go on, don't they? The requested zone change that will be compatible and complementary to the existing conditions in the surrounding area. And C, the site is adequate in size to accommodate the uses. And D, the site properly relates to streets and highways designed and fully improved to carry the type and quantity of traffic that's expected to be generated in this area. And that utilities exist or are planned to exist to be constructed to serve the project. And therefore, staff recommends that your commission adopt Resolution 2531 to recommend to council to approve the zone change and general plan amendment. One more action. The next resolution pertains to the tentative tract map, and these findings state that the map is consistent with the general plan, that none of the conditions for mandatory denial exist, and that the proposed subdivision together with the provisions for its design and improvements are consistent with applicable plans of the city. And therefore, staff recommends that you adopt resolution approving the tentative track map with the modifications in the memo that was submitted to you tonight, and that would be modifications to conditions 10, 13, 36, 70, 71, and 73, which is the one pertaining to a potential future park site in Horse Arena. And that concludes my presentation. We'd be pleased to entertain any questions you have, and we also have the environmental consultant, Julie Beeman and Linda Bowe from VCS Environmental, who are here to answer any environmental questions you might have. And Tom DeLappe, the applicant, is also available with his team. Thank you, and I'll take a seat and allow them.
What I would like to do now is take 10-minute break before we go on, because it's going to be going on for a while. So then when we come back, do we address our questions to you?
Yes.
Okay,
and then I
we'll
can
do that. All
refer-
right, so we'll meet back here in 10 minutes. Thank you. It's questions of staff time, so we're going to start with Jeff, because he has a lot of questions.
I do, and I have asked Pat this opportunity. So I have 7 starting questions that I've actually asked you guys privately, but I'm asking this again because I think it's important for the audience as well as other commission members to know the questions that I've asked and the answers for that. So I'm going to go down each one by one. Some of them are going to be real quick. Some of them probably require a little bit more explanation. So Teresa, our city attorney. So I want to confirm that this general plan amendment, is it a city charter issue? And does it require the supermajority when it reaches city council? And does that have any implications for us on the planning commission?
So because it is a development that involves the rezoning of an A1, it is a charter issue and it will require a supermajority vote at the council level, but that does not have implications at the planning commission. So you're making a vote on these, to make recommendations to approve, or you're denying these on a simple majority as per the usual. But it will require a supermajority when it goes to council.
Okay. Next question, I think this one probably better directed at Mark. So on this agenda item, we have 3 separate resolutions dealing with the general plan amendment, the EIR, as well as the tentative tract map. Now, are we required to have those all with the same decision? Can they be separate? Can they be split? How do we have to handle that?
Your commission can vote differently on the 3 actions. You can choose even not to adopt the resolution recommending certification of the EIR if you wish, or you can approve or not approve the recommendations pertaining to the tentative tract map, the general plan, and the zone change. And I could defer to the city attorney if she'd like to clarify.
I would say that the tentative tract map does not comply with the general plan if some of the prior items are not approved. So there is going to be a little bit of dependency on that particular item.
My understanding is that there has been a memorandum of understanding that was issued by the city council. Can you, Teresa, speak a little bit about the MOU and the legal aspects of it?
Yeah, so right now, there is no legally binding MOU, and that issue is not before the Planning Commission. The terms of the land exchange are going to get worked out at the city council level. You're really looking at the resolutions that are before you, whether to approve or deny, but not the terms of the MOU, not the terms of the land exchange. So right now, the answer is there is no legally binding MOU, but that there will be at the council level likely.
Okay. And then this is more of I think I'm going to direct it at you, Teresa, but if Mark wants to jump in. I think one of the concerns that has been expressed a lot with the public is the kind of the legal risk for the city with the state imposition of higher density. So what risks does the city have if this project is denied in terms of higher density being forced on us?
I don't know, Mark, do you want to answer that? I'm happy to.
I can start, and then if you
Sure.
want to add to it. This project site is not included in our housing inventory or a candidate site for future housing development. Therefore, if we leave it as is with the A1 20,000 square foot minimum, that would, and do not approve this higher density, my view is that there be no risk to the city since we have a compliant housing element and it's not identified as a future site for housing.
I concur.
Thanks. I'm going to go a little bit out of order on this one. Teresa, can you talk about the exposure of the R1 zoning if we were to accept the general plan amendment of going from A1 to R1? and how that relates to SB 9 for the density bonuses of them being able to subdivide and be able to put on up to four homes on a lot.
Sure, so just to maybe initially explain, SB 9 is a requirement that cities ministerially approve a one-time subdivision of single-family residential parcels into 2 lots, which have to be roughly equal lots. So it's a urban lot split is what we call that. The city of Norco is currently designated as a historical equestrian landmark, which creates an exemption from the SB 9 urban lot split requirement. However, if for some reason that historic landmark was either exempted from the statute or some further down the laws were changed, an agricultural zone, so the law, SB 9 laws, the government code section specifically target single-family residential zones. So an agricultural zone like the A1 zone that the city of Norco has, which in the statute clearly points to farmland, animal keeping, and all of those would also not be part of SB 9. So it's a little bit of a second layer of protection. But at this point, that's not necessary because, again, the city of Norco is considered a historic landmark, which is exempted from SB 9.
All right, thank you. And last one, I'm not sure who would be best to kind of respond to this. In our staff report, it indicated that this project went in front of the Streets and Trail Utility as well as Parks and Rec, but it did not include much of the responses or concern on that. Is there someone from staff that can kind of give us a summary of that?
Yes, our Public Works Director is here and it did attend the Utility Commission meeting, and then also our Deputy City Manager / Facilities Director is also here, and she was involved with the Parks and Recreation Commission, so I could have them speak to that issue.
Yeah, if we can hear from them on these two.
Stuck, did not want to give a recommendation.
So Streets and Trails did not want to give a recommendation?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Was there discussion of concerns or anything, or?
Yes, but it was things that are out of their purview.
Gotcha. Okay.
Good evening, Commission members. I was not at that meeting, but I did speak with Commissioner Naylor, and the Parks and Rec Commission did not take a stance on the development.
Okay, all right. Dennis, do you have questions of staff specifically? Okay, Sarah? Nope. Shannon? My question, and I'm not sure, maybe this has been answered, if we make a general plan amendment to this to include the R1s in the A120 zone, does that, first of all, set a precedent for other properties in Norco? And second of all, does it mean that because we've done the general plan amendment that other properties can, not even a precedent, other properties, someone can come in and say, well, I want, 10 houses on my half acre too?
If I could respond honestly, that's somewhat speculative. It would, by amending the policy, there would be an opportunity for other properties to say, to state that they also comply with these other policies, the rural character, for example, and the animal keeping lifestyle. Therefore, it does somewhat provide opportunities for other property owners to make the request, not necessarily approval, but to request.
Would it be better if we are going to approve this to make it more of a specific plan where it's just for this property as opposed to all properties? Would that work?
It would still be inconsistent with the general plan. The specific plan, the specific plan policy would still apply. We'd have to amend that, I think.
So not as it's presented at this point, but there is the ability for the city to create a zone-specific amendment to the general plan. So it would be essentially the JD Ranch zone, sort of, right? And that would be by ordinance, it would have to be. But that's not what's before the Planning Commission at this
But
point.
that could be done by the
It
city
is,
council.
it is legally permissible. It is not before you at today.
No, I
tonight.
understand it's not
Yeah.
before. I'm just saying that they
Yes.
could do that, so if other areas, it wouldn't just cover all other areas in Norco.
So, yeah, so it wouldn't be the general plan amendment that's before you now that sort of, allows the higher density residential with the qualifications of D and E. It would literally be its own zone as a carve out to the general plan. And it sounds like Mark wanted to speak to that maybe.
No, I think you're absolutely correct. It
Okay.
would be in a form of specific plan, but be
All
a
right.
single use.
I understand
a
it's not
single
in front
use.
of us. I just wanted to have an answer for that. Thank you. Okay.
So-
Oh, sorry.
So, question for you. If I start asking staff questions now, I'll probably take up the next hour. Do you want to move to public comments first, and then I'll come back
Sure,
and I
let's-
can do that?
Let's do
or
that. Let's have the people speak. So we'll open the public hearing. I'm sure we have some cards.
Yes, Chair, I have a couple things to also announce. We had 5 email comments that came in. 1 was in the packet, 3 are on the dais before you, and 1 comment did come in after the starting of the meeting. All 5 have been opposed to the project. The first public comment will be Jim Pollard. Pardon? What? 5. Oh, for the speaker cards, 12. Sorry. A lot going on.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Jim Pollard, and I've lived in this area for 47 years when the Delapi property was dairy. And I'm in favor of this project the way he has it developed now. I know it doesn't always, and let me put it to this way. I'm not here, I'm only here as a resident. I'm not here representing any of my commissions or associations that I'm with in Norco, only as a resident. I know it's not perfect, but it still incorporates the city living with a rural atmosphere. I think they've done a lot to make the residents of the Sundance property happy with one-story houses, as I understand, up against there. So anybody in the Sundance property there should be obliged by that kind of consideration. He has the street and trails that go throughout in compliance with our rural lifestyle and horse. There will be horse concessions where they can have 2 horses on the smaller property. And I know we like the half acre, but I think the Delapis have put together a fine project and like to see it go forward to the city council. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Bonnie Slager.
Good evening. I don't envy you with your decision tonight. Norco Horsemen's Association was created in the 1980s because properties were being divided up. And at that time, it was decided that a half acre was as small as properties should be, given that people wanted to have animals and more rural atmosphere. The whole idea of Norco Horsemen's Association was to preserve the rural lifestyle, and that meant at least a half acre of property. I just don't see where these quarter acre, I'd like to see a diagram of how the house and the 2 horses and a swimming pool and an ADU and your truck and horse trailer are all going to fit on this property. as well as you can have 3 ADUs now, and I just don't see how that can happen. I just, the horses are not going to have a lot of room. Instead of the city maybe putting an arena and a round pen someday, I think in the center of the property, there ought to be arena, round pen facilities so that people from all sides, there's the potential of over 120 horses here. And there needs to be facilities off these 10,000 square foot properties for the horse to be able to be turned out, to exercise, to ride it. And so I really think for the benefit of the horses, you need to provide facilities for them. The lot's less than a half acre. I just don't see how you're going to be able to get everything on them. And I do want to preserve the lifestyle. This is how our kids grow up. I've seen Sarah since she was 6 years old raising turkeys. She and her brothers have a lemonade stand. They learned how to run a business. You don't do that when you live in an apartment. You grew up here too, I believe, Shannon. And you've been here 100 years, so maybe 120. And I hate to see all this lost, and to see the young people we have growing up to be able to have the opportunity that these people had. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Mike Williams.
Thank you. Good evening, commissioners, staff, residents. Just to be clear, I am on the Stuck Commission. I'm not here as a Stuck member tonight. I'm here as a resident. I want to mention that I did read the staff report of 259 pages in the EIR report. I breezed through that, looked at the acreage swap, the facilities, and so on and so forth that is being recommended. These are 64 lots, and the 1 acre that is there that the Delapis are currently retaining, 13 half acres and the 50 quarter acre lots. Now, put this in perspective. Everybody's been to Ingalls, and they know what the arena is. Quarter acre lot is about half the size of that arena. Put that in your mind. Half the size of the new barn, okay? These are small lots. I've got 1 acre and a quarter, and I'll tell you, there's a lot of days I don't feel like I've got nearly enough room for my livestock that I've got on my property. This city has worked overtime at maintaining these residential zoning regulations. From 2014 that Commissioner Hedges, I believe you were involved in that with the commission at those times. So you're well familiar with the amount of work and time and effort that went in that with Kathy and Berwin Hanna, and even our Councilman Bash was on that that council in those days. We need to do everything we can to protect this town and maintain Horsetown, the PACA, the historical protections. I don't want to disagree with the attorney or anything that's been said, but I'll tell you that once you set a precedence, you've opened Pandora's box. There's no question, okay? Little steps in the ladder. We've watched Orange County disappear for horses. Parts of LA County, horses are going away, and now we're fighting the same battle. If you move these resolutions ahead, I'm afraid that's what we're looking at, and then council will be our only hope at stopping this. I don't keep anything away from the Delapis as far as wanting to do something with this property. I understand that, okay, but I think something better can be done. It was said at one point that the question was posed if they would be willing to sell that, let that 1 acre go. If that meant letting the property go through and let this deal go through, and the answer was no. That's what I was told. It was in confidence, but I think this is important. Things that we've gone through in the past, the Corona Dead End, the Norco Hills, Silver Lakes, Riverside Power Lines measure are Del Mar speed bumps. Community came out, okay? Here we are again tonight. Please do not move this forward. do the right thing for this city. We need your help here. We trust you, and we hope you make the right decision. Thank you.
Good timing.
Our next speaker is Rudy Gatto.
Good evening and thank you. And while I share a lot of the concerns of the other folks here, I'd like to address an issue that was in the environmental impact report that I'm concerned might get overlooked in the other conversation with the other issues. Specifically, some documented soil contamination that's present at the site. The final EIR and the Phase 2 environmental site assessment found multiple soil samples that contain DDE, which is a breakdown product of DDT, a pesticide that was once widely used in farming and ranching applications. These levels exceeded the California state screening threshold for residential use. One sample also found contaminated elevated diesel range hydrocarbons. These are confirmed findings in the EIR. They're not hypothetical risks. More importantly, the EIR states that full extent, depth, distribution of the contaminants is not known. The Phase 2 sampling consisted only of limited superficial sampling, meaning that the investigation completed so far is incomplete. The EIR further explains that substantial additional sampling must be conducted before anyone can determine how widespread the contamination is or what cleanup is required. That means the data that is being relied on tonight is preliminary and does not include deeper soils or areas beneath existing or former agricultural structures, locations that Phase 1 ESA identifies as those most likely to contain contaminations from decades of pesticide mixing, fuel storage, and equipment washing. Disturbing contaminated soil during grading can create airborne dust that moves into nearby homes, animal areas, and water sources, and into the lungs of residents, especially vulnerable children and seniors. And if homes are built, families and horses will be living on soil whose contamination has not yet fully been defined. Despite these concerns, no additional testing has been performed since the Phase 2 ESA, and no remediation has occurred for the contaminants already identified. No regulatory agency has certified the property as safe for residential or question use, and the EIR even states that cleanup recommendations cannot be made until comprehensive sampling is completed. Yet the Commission is being asked to approve this project before the true level of contamination is known, before a remediation plan exists, and before long-term safety for the residents can be assured. From a public safety standpoint, this should concern all of us. This is simply a call for due diligence. The California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA, requires agencies to identify impacts before approval, disclose them, mitigate them when possible, and make decisions based on complete information. Here, essential information is still missing, and significant impacts cannot be fully evaluated until required testing is completed. For these reasons, I respectfully urge the Commission not to approve the project until all post-demolition testing is complete, the full extent of the contamination is disclosed, and a clear and enforceable remediation plan is prepared. Approving the project now, even subject to completion of this, places public safety at an unnecessary risk. Our community and the families who may one day live on this land deserve the assurance that the soil beneath their homes and their animals is safe. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Cecilia Crowell.
Hi, guys. So we moved here about 3 years ago, and I've been to way more planning meetings than I ever thought I would be. So the reason why I came today to speak is because I moved from West Covina. I moved here so that we could have this way of life for my daughter. We've been here for 3 years, like I said, and when reading this at first glance, I was like, oh, looks good, right? Then I kept reading, started looking more. And my problem lies with that, changing that zone to that R1 and going with the 10,000 acre. Once you lose it, you will never get it back. Any property here, no matter what size, once it is sold and it is broken up, it'll never go back to the size that it originally was. No one's ever gonna come in and say, I'm gonna take 50 homes and I'm gonna make 10 beautiful farms. It's never gonna happen. So the problem for us, or for me personally as a mom who moved here for the Norco Horsetown USA, is because if you break this up into 50 units, that's 50 units you'll never get back. It'll never go back to, even the A1 zoning of taking the R1 and turning it into animal keeping still, what does that look like? Because according to Norco zoning, if you take a 10,000 square foot lot, that's only for one animal unit. So you can't have technically 2 horses on that 10,000 square foot property. you'll only go back down to 1. So after reading and researching and looking, you guys, I haven't been here as long as most of these people. They already lost a dairy farm. We'll never get a dairy farm back. And now you're gonna go straight hop, skip, and a jump to an R1. You'll never get back your A1. That's all I came to say. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Mike Thompson.
Is that me? Yep. I can't hear.
Last time we checked.
Sorry, Mike.
Pass these to the commissioners, I'd appreciate it.
To everybody.
Not enough?
Yeah, we got it.
Yeah, okay. I thought I could come. Good evening, commissioners. I've taken the liberty of giving y'all a zone map there. In the brown spots that I've circled in red are all the R1 zoned spots we have in town. There's 6 of them. And all those R1 zones all started in the early 60s. You can look it up on Zillow. They started building those houses before 1965. So I think this city's done pretty good. There ain't been any R1 residential lots for over 40 plus years. And that's the whole reason they incorporated and became Norco, to keep the big lot rural lifestyle in 65. That's what our founding fathers did. So along with that, there's been no more R1 housing projects approved. The city took the extra step of turning into a charter city to also keep our large lot lifestyle. And every politician that we've got in town campaigns on half-acre lots, just like the code says, minimum lot size, to keep our lifestyle and our large lot living. The other thing is, what's this traffic gonna do? These people are gonna come out of these 50 houses and head up Bluff Street to get to Corridon to make it over to the 50 freeway. Really nice for all those residents. And the same people that dump out on River Road to head to the 91. What a nightmare. We gotta keep what we've been fighting for, minimum half-acre lots. And I think that if you allow this, I also circled 2 more little spots there, this project and the Christmas tree farm on Hillside. That'll be your next one that they're gonna wanna carve up. Mark my words. So again, the Stuck Commission, this is against our zone code. So we as a Stuck Commissioner, we couldn't make any recommendations because it's against the code. If you approve this, then we could relook at it, but I hope you don't. So let me just say the last thing here is just don't fall for any of the threats, about what's gonna happen to this land. With any luck, in less than a year, there'll be a new sheriff in Sacramento. And one of his campaign promises, he's gonna turn cities' operations back over to the cities. So we'll have to see. It might be a hard fight, but this greaseball that's up there now is gonna be gone in less than a year. So keep that in mind. Keep Norco, half-acre minimum lot size. Thank you.
Right on, Mike.
Our next speaker is Josh Autry.
Good evening, commissioners. Thanks for listening to us today. Kind of touched everything already, but keep Norco. This phrase has been preached a lot lately. We just went through a local election where one of our council members led his campaign seemingly solely on those words alone, and he won. This seems to be a sentiment that resonates through Norconians as we try to maintain our rural lifestyle that has been pushed aside by other communities, like Yorba Linda, in the past. The proposed development on JD Ranch seems to be a step in the direction of those same communities that have lost their rural feel. It's a source of pride for us to live in an area with half-acre or better lot sizes. This is a large identifier of what makes Norco, Norco. Sure, we made exceptions in the past, but I believe that further proves my point. That point being, those exceptions were just stepping stones. Whatever legal precedent goes on that, to say that that's not exactly the case, we all kind of know that the second we approve one thing, That's going to be referenced to approve further in the future. Those exceptions open the door. This is being proven by the fact that these previous exceptions for the properties by Highland Elementary, Norco Intermediate, and along Norco Drive have been referenced multiple times as validation for this very project. And I have no doubt that if this project is passed, it will be used as reference to the next development project and the next, and so on. We need to nip it in the bud now. Keep Norco, Norco, with half-acre lot minimum sizes. Now to my next point, why are we acting like any of these decisions aren't just money grabs? We know what's going on. They want to develop more properties for more money there. Why are we listening to how we're integrating with the community and offering to do so many things to better our community? It's all for the money. We know that. It's not for Norco. To reference our recent city council campaign again, we were told over and over how little property tax actually impacts our budget. That's how they were justifying the hotels and the dealerships, to add to the city's income, because property taxes just don't add too much to it. But now we're saying that more homes and more taxes will significantly help our city. So which one is it? They're also dangling a carrot of helping out our roads and horse trails, but only if we comply and let them build a housing tract that goes against what our town stands for. They don't care about Norco, they just want to maximize profit. Sure, all businesses do. That's just part of life. But don't blow smoke up our, by telling us that this is all for building community. If our community was cared about, all these meetings with other commissions would have been done more publicly and not just adjusting schedules at the last minute that I'm sure some of these other commission members saw. Sorry, guys. If our community was cared about, all these businesses would have been done more publicly and not adjusted last minute, and there wouldn't be an ultimatum tied to it. If it was done right, with keeping the community in mind, then we would just have linked horse trails, property entrances and exit signs, and half-acre lots. Sure, build another community, but do it right and keep Norco, Norco.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Connie Fagerling.
Good evening, everyone.
More towards you.
Oh, sorry.
Just pull it towards you. Just pull it down. There you go.
I've been coming to Norco since the early 80s. I've lived in Norco now for 10 years. And like everyone else that's here, the half-acre lots is definitely a draw. I have horses. I've owned horses for over 40 years. Ted Brooks Arena is 4 houses down from my house, and I use Ted Brooks Arena every day. If we add 100 more horses without any type of equestrian facility for these people to use, not sure how that's going to work. Ted Brooks is not going to be able to support that kind of traffic. Also, we all know that quarter-acre ranches are not really attractive to people who own horses. It's just not enough room. Quarter-acre ranches with a nice equestrian facility in the center of it, that might actually bring people to this facility, but in the proposal, it says that you may put equestrian facilities in there. Well, we all know what that means. That doesn't mean that there's going to be any kind of equestrian facilities. So that tells me that the city of Norco, if they do want to move this forward, means that preserving the equestrian lifestyle is not on the top of their agenda. Because, again, we all know most everyone in the city of Norco, commissions and places all have horses or know what that means. And shame on everyone who doesn't want to preserve the equestrian lifestyle. It's a significant draw for us. It's Horsetown, USA. It's what gives us our, identity, if you will. And the fact that you can go to Starbucks on your horse and all of those things. We already have issues where people on the other side of Bluff Street have to cross the street to come over to use our facilities. If you're going to create another facility where they don't have any amenities, how are we going to take care of all of these animals? Again, I also heard mentioned that property taxes are going to be going up for residents. Not sure how that, you're bringing in a new development, but yet my property taxes are going to go up. Well, this has a serious impact on me. I'm a single person. It's going to be very difficult for me to continue to live the lifestyle that I live if I have to support additional taxes and costs associated with a building of a facility that doesn't propose, doesn't create a lifestyle for horses. And that's all I have to say.
Our next speaker is Tricia Autry, excuse me.
Good evening, Commissioners. My apologies for the glasses. I'm dealing with extreme light sensitivity, so it's a need for me right now. My name is Tricia Autry, and I'm speaking tonight as a resident on Vine Avenue who deeply values Norco's identity as a small town, rural, animal-keeping community. I am on Parks and Recreation Commission, but tonight I am speaking to you as a resident on Vine Avenue. I want to be very clear. I am opposed to the JD Ranch development as currently proposed and urge the Commission to consider alternative 2 instead. Norco is not just another city with housing. It is a community intentionally built around large lots, open space, and agricultural lifestyles. The city's A1 zoning and half-acre minimums are not arbitrary rules. They are foundational to our culture and quality of life. While the applicant notes that some quarter-acre neighborhoods exist, those areas are the exception, not the standard, and many were established decades ago under very different growth pressures. Approving 50 quarter-acre lots on land that has historically reflected Norco's large lot character represents a significant shift. And while this proposal is framed as a balanced mix, the reality is that nearly 80% of this development consists of smaller lots. Once this precedent is set, it becomes much harder to say no when other large parcels come forward seeking similar density. This decision will echo far beyond this one project. I understand the proposed project will include a land swap and therefore connect the horse trail on River and Bluff, but this is ultimately not worth it. Another thing I want to take note of is our equestrian district that was recently approved. Per our city website, the equestrian district needs to have over 50% of the lots containing 20,000 square foot or more. So does this project fit into our equestrian district that was just approved? The applicant has stated that the previous proposal of 32 half-acre lots was not financially viable, but financial viability for a developer should not outweigh the long-term vision and values for our city. If Norco begins approving projects based on what is most profitable for a developer rather than what aligns with our general plan and community character, we risk losing exactly what makes Norco special. I want to also address traffic and public safety. I previously told you I live on Vine, 5 houses down from Ted Brooks. This development will place additional strain on River Road and surrounding residential streets. Many of us in the area already experience speeding, cut-through traffic, and accidents. I live on Vine, where cars divert through our neighborhood to avoid River Road congestion. Adding the proposed 63 additional houses will only increase that risk, especially for our children, pedestrians, and equestrians. I urge the Planning Commission to not consider whether this project can be built, but whether it should be built in this form. Please uphold Norco's rural identity and decline this project.
Our next speaker is Bill Naylor.
Evening, Commissioners. I wish I could speak as well as the previous people that have spoken tonight. I'm just going to hit a couple of quick points on this because most of them have already hit the points that I had in mind. But first of all, I think you're going to have a hard time making findings to amend the general plan. I just don't hear it from everything that I've seen tonight. Also, I'm concerned about the number of units on the properties. As I said, they can only divide them. Even if they've got 10,000 feet, they're allowed by state law, possibly, at least in the future. Who knows now because of the historical district, but in the future, they always seem to change things and they could possibly divide it. But if they don't divide it, they're still allowed to put ADUs on those properties. So again, there goes more housing in the area. I'm concerned about the park, and I want to preface this. I am on the Parks and Recreation Commission, but I'm not speaking for them. I am just speaking as a resident. On the parks swap, I the area that they want to give us or sell to us, or however they want to do it in the memorandum, is under power lines. How many developers are going to put houses under power lines? You can't do it. So that's pretty much a wasted area anyway. And then we're going to sell them more park or other area along Bluff Road. That does not make sense to me at all. And then the original, I would just end this with one thought. Why, with the city having a surplus, a reserve for surplus of approximately $30 million, why don't we make an offer to the developer here or the property owner? And I know that they've been long-term residents here in town. The Delappi's been here for many, many years. But maybe they would sell the property to the city and we could land bank that for other things that we might need to do. Just a thought. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Aaron Williams.
Hi. So it's zoned A120. The proposal does not comply with the zoning. It doesn't work. 50 quarter-acre lots. So they want to do the rezoning. They want to do this resolution. I want to make it really clear. It was on the screen earlier, but I'm afraid it wasn't clear enough. If they make this, if the city goes forward with this change to the general plan, the threshold is so low. We're going to say, right now it says you cannot rezone A1 to residential. Like, that is strong. The proposed change says, unless compliance with 221D and E. Okay, great. What's 221D and E? The city shall encourage open areas and at a scale that encourages small pot agricultural animal keeping lifestyle. There's no threshold there. What's E? Residential zones that allow animal keeping, the city shall encourage lot development that adequately provides the necessary area and then effectively maintain the health and safety of animals. I would argue this R1 zoning doesn't meet that at any point, but now we're saying it does. We're going to say, hey, encourage it and it's fine. You can take agricultural land and make it residential. The threshold is painfully low, and that opens a huge door. I'm not a lawyer, but like, the city encourages it so we can make all this land residential. So you do that for one property. How can you say no to anybody else? Now it's discrimination. Why do you let them do it, but you don't let the hillside people do it? There's no justification to choose who gets to do it and who doesn't. So I'm sorry, as a layperson, that opens the door for all of that. My biggest issue that I have is, well, that's a very big issue. This is another big issue. There's a false choice presented in the CEQA document. They say, okay, here's the plan that we want to do. We considered alternatives. One alternative is we do nothing, but that doesn't help your arena numbers. We're okay on that, so who cares? The other thing is, or we do it with the existing zoning and no land swap, but that doesn't meet the project objectives. Well, they set the project objectives. What are the project objectives? Equestrian community. Well, I don't really think this achieves that, but fine, whatever. Have PACAs. Okay, great, you have PACAs. We'll get back to that. We'll complete the trail. So they made one of the 4 requirements, completing the trail, but then kept the land swapped needed for the trail out of the alternative project. They built to that argument to fail. The other one is to widen River Road, same thing. You need to be able to do all this thing as they proposed to meet their objectives. So they're setting up a false argument here that there's no alternative that meets the objectives. Real quick on PACAs, this was a great night for this other issue to come up because we're gonna now take quarter-acre properties and we're gonna say you can have 3 ADUs on them because that's out of our control. So now instead of 4 potential dwellings per half acre, now we can have 8 dwellings per half acre on 2 quarter-acre properties. This is not an equestrian community, as proposed.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Jean Ann Colomb. Hello, thank you. We moved to Norco 2.5 years ago from Yorba Linda, and we lived in Yorba Linda for 40 years. We loved the rural nature of Yorba Linda and watched it grow from a community similar to Norco to a very busy Orange County city. I listed myself as neutral because I have very mixed feelings about this project. On one hand, I when we moved in, well, I live on Sundance. We back up to this property. I appreciate the owner's changes in making it half acres against our property. And we were excited to hear that what was zoned would be that we would have a half acre behind us when we bought. So I have very mixed feelings about the quarter acres. At the same time, what I saw happen in Yorba Linda, while I would love to believe that we are very protected on all the resolutions we have and the variety of things that Norco has done, I spent many years standing before city councils fighting against Costco's and now what is apartments and all that. And it can change very quickly. I have one question and one request. The first is the wall that would separate us from that property is only about at the lowest on my back part is about 4 feet. I can stand and look into that very easily. It's a cinder block wall, but it's not very sturdy. So whatever gets built there, my request would be that they would be required to build an 8-foot fence for privacy for both sides. At least it'd be 8 feet on their side. It would make it about probably 6 feet on our side. And then my question is, we have a very large drain in our back corner. When we moved in, we knew that there was some type of easement, but we just recently discovered the easement actually runs along the whole back of our property for 20 feet, and I believe along the back of all of the Sundance properties. And my question to the city would be if this is going to connect into those drains, what it might do to our drainage and what it could change for us. So thank you very much for your time. I don't envy your decision. Bless you for trying to keep Norco. I hope that we're able to do that. And our last speaker is Matthew Colomb.
Good evening, council. Like my mother said, we moved from Yorba Linda. I remember as a kid seeing the horses and enjoying the rural lifestyle until it changed. To this day, my soon-to-be 4-year-old son, as we live off Sundance, we enjoy seeing the horses go by, and whether he's helping me mow the front yard, he tells me to stop because the horses are coming. I appreciate this city. I understand things do change, and I appreciate that you guys are trying to keep things the way that it is. One of my biggest concerns is actually the traffic that is going through. If you ever go through River, you will see right before Sundance, it gets to 1 lane, and I know the proposal is to widen that. But if you drive on that, you will see people driving 40 to 50 mile an hour down that road. It is ridiculous at times. I wish we had more cops to be able to help give tickets. And I understand those who live close off those lanes, off Vine and Bluff, what they are enduring. And so to me, I still remain somewhat neutral on this. I would love to see it be half-acre lots to help continue what is going on. But at the end of the day, it is not my decision. That is yours. And so I know you guys, as I've been here before, want to keep Norco. And so I just ask that you consider the effects of those for my son, who is almost 4, as he looks forward to having animals that he can ride, that he can feel safe on, as we are less than 10 houses from River Road, that as people are flying by, that if he is on a horse or walking a goat that my wife really wants to get, that I can have confidence that as he is in Norco, that he is safe. And hearing from previous meetings, even going down 6th Street, it is not that way at times. So thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have no further comments, Chair.
Okay, well, we're going to close the public, bring it back to us and continue with our questions of staff, and then we're going to hear from the applicants, okay?
Yeah, thank you. I wanted to finish the question so that it'll give an opportunity for the applicant to respond to some of those. I would ask that staff bear with me because there are a lot of questions, and I'm just gonna kind of go through them page by page and kind of come up with them individually. I'm going to look at the EIR first, and because that is chronologically the first one that is coming up. I've got a few concerns about EIR. One of the major ones is the traffic. I am not personally satisfied with the response that it is unavoidable and unmitigatable. But more on the traffic portion, there's parts of the response to the city of Eastvale that I don't feel has been completely responded to. So they reviewed our draft EIR, provided the response that they wanted to get a level of service out to their main collectors, which they had indicated. The response was that CEQA no longer requires that, and we did the VMT. And then the other question was that they requested to have a follow-up meeting with the city, and the response was that we would schedule that. Now, I guess I'd like to take these one at a time. If we could provide some feedback in terms of what happened with that follow-up meeting, did they buy off on that the CEQA doesn't require the level of service and that they'll just acquiesce? Because one of the items is that they have requested the development also share the cost of any mitigating measures. And from the way that it is indicated, that this is unavoidable and unmitigatable. So it sounds like we're just telling Eastvale that, hey, we're going to be generating new traffic, and because we don't have any info on it and we're not required to, we're not going to provide any info. So I want to kind of get clarity on that.
So when we sent out the notice, the original notice of the EIR, which is the notice of intent to adopt a mitigated negative, an EIR, we did not hear back from the city of Eastvale. So when we sent out the NOA, notice of availability of the draft EIR, we got comments that should have been provided to us under the notice of intent before the draft EIR went out. So I did have a conversation with what was probably, I don't know if it was an assistant or associate planner with the city of Eastvale. And I explained to her, it's like, we've already drafted the EIR. Your comments were pertaining to, when eventually when the draft would come out, but that's already before you. And we had a conversation with our engineering staff that we talked about, their request for the analyzing the, I believe it was the different intersections. And as you can see, we did respond like, hey, we complied with CEQA requirements that only require the VMT analysis. And I did speak to our city of Eastvale. They responded and said, thank you very much. There was a confusion. We should have, we responded in the way that it was for the NOI, but we realized that the EIR draft is already out there. At this point, we've reviewed it. We have no further comments. So they were satisfied with our response.
Lisette, have we heard anything else, or do we consider that city of Eastvale is okay with this moving forward? Yes, because it with the location and the density, I would think that they would want to know. So are you satisfied with the level of communication there in that we have satisfied? Because one of the things that concerns me is that in their letter, they've asked that to clarify let me see the language here. Contribute to fair share costs for any mitigation needed for the applicable intersections. So that was specifically called out in their comment, and it doesn't seem like we have addressed that. So my concern is that they might have had conversations saying that we're okay with it, but do we have any documentation that backs us up on that? Because this part is documented, and if they come back and say, hey, we requested this, and do we have communication that says, hey, we offered it to you and you said you're good with it?
Yes, I do have the the email chain between Eastville and myself. We have it. I mean, I'm happy to provide it to city manager, but it's there.
Okay, so I wanted to confirm that. You. And so I am having issues with the unmitigated traffic because that is a very important part of the CEQA requirement. And so I'm having a hard time understanding our justification for the finding, because the fourth finding is that it is in alignment with the traffic of the area. And I'm just kind of trying to figure out what the staff's reasoning is, knowing that we have this requirement for overriding condition, that how are you able to arrive at that finding with that condition?
I'd like to call up our environmental consultant, VCS, to respond to that. They performed the traffic analysis or the VMT analysis.
Good afternoon, Chair, Commissioners. My name is Julie Beeman with VCS Environmental, and we did prepare the document for the City of Norco, and the City of Norco did have it peer-reviewed by PlaceWorks, their CEQA consultant. And I think what you're asking, Commissioner, is about the VMT and why there's an override? Is that the question, or?
No, so I understand with the traffic analysis and the VMT that we're exceeding the city norm. And so knowing that we have documented that it is an unavoidable and significant impact, how are we able to arrive at the conclusion that we can support the finding number 4, I think, or D, whatever it's written as, for the recommendation that this is in, what's the phrasing? But anyway, that it would be in compliance with, that it supports the finding.
Well, we've said in the document that we don't meet the VMT standard, and therefore we have a significant unmitigatable impact.
I guess I go back to you, Mark, then, because then we're going back to the staff recommendation, because you're recommending that we approve this with the findings that you guys are able to make. And so I'm having a difficulty making that bridge of the EIR saying that it's unavoidable and unmitigated, and for the staff report to say that we have made the finding that it is compatible with the traffic pattern of the area.
That's correct. It is a staff recommendation that we make findings to override that unavoidable adverse impact. And we did make 7 separate findings. They're on page 40 of the final EIR, overriding considerations. And what we found determined in conclusion is that the benefits of the project outweigh the potential impact and impacts.
Okay, so it's and I'm trying to make sure that I understand you correctly. You're not saying that we have mitigated it. You're saying that the positive outweigh the negative, essentially.
That's correct.
Okay.
And if I could just add, because VMT is so strange, and it's the state of California coming at us, but to mitigate that VMT, we would have to go in and the city would have to approve density higher than the general plan in this instance in order to have that impact be mitigated, which obviously no one wants it even denser, right? So it's a little strange and very difficult to understand why we're doing that, so.
Actually, stay there, please. I do have additional question on the EIR. I think the gentleman is Rudy, maybe over there. I applaud you for actually going through the EIR. It is a lengthy document. I did catch the the item about contamination, but I do see that under our documents, we do have mitigating measures. Can you talk a little bit more about that and kind of the timeline of it? Because part of it is that if we are accepting the phase 2 portion of it, and the mitigation measures, I think it had some phrasing about before construction, before permitting, that additional testing would have to be made.
Correct.
Can you just speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, it talks about doing additional sampling, but you have to demolish what's on the land in order to get under and actually sample the soil. And so they typically will do that once the project has been approved, once they demolish all of the appurtenances on the land, then they'll go in and they'll do the sampling. If they find any toxic materials, they have to take them out and dispose of them at an appropriate landfill. And then there also is a measure that says you can't bring any new fill in without sampling that fill, because if you could bring it from another location, it could have the same issue. And we do see, in especially agrarian areas, where, you know, pesticide was used because it used to be legal, right, what was used, that we see these kinds of things in the soil, and the standards for how many parts per, you know, whatever you can have in the soil is very, very conservative. But you have to go in, you have to check it, you got to do all the testing you know, you got to dig down into the earth, do all the testing, and then you have to get rid of it if it's there, so that it is no longer a threat to anyone.
Okay. I know the answer to this, but I want to kind of get staff confirmation on this, that this is kind of the standard practice when it comes to mitigating contaminants.
That's correct, and there are mitigation measures that will require that, and as well as state code.
Sorry. Okay, thank you. I think I'm okay with the EIR portion. And I will move on to the portion on general plan amendment. I think my question is, we're establishing, well, I guess, did we have a designation in our general plan previously for small plot agriculture? Or is that something that has been added as part of this?
Are you asking if we have a land use designation for small plat agriculture?
No, if we had the language in our general plan before, because I know that we've often referred to that we're proud of our large lots. Is the small plot agriculture animal keeping language added in as part of this?
No, I believe it's already there.
Okay. My concern, and I think voiced by a lot of people here, is that I don't believe conditions, the D and E that are being proposed is specific and quantifiable enough that it leaves a lot of, I guess, interpretation. And it worries me whenever we leave anything up to interpretation, especially for something that has as large of an impact as a zone change, especially from A1, where we do have a lot of protections, into R1, which kind of opens us up to a lot of potential revisions under California state law currently. So I'd like to see if there's any way that we can kind of firm that up. And just kind of wrapping up my questions to staff, I'm moving on to the tentative track map. There's a few technical questions and concerns on this. In the recommendation, we've indicated that lot depth for lots 8 through 13, that they need to be increased to 200. And I know that this is kind of nitpicking, but several of them are not 200. It's like 190 something. And typically, I would let that go, but the other part of this, and I would call up our representative from the fire department, one of the items that I noted is the cul-de-sac, which I think is indicated under Street E right now. It's indicating turning radius bulb of about 67 right now. The plan did not have a specific dimension, so I dimensioned off of the available dimension, or I scaled it off the available dimension to confirm that. And based upon my reading of the current fire code, it requires a 90-foot diameter bulb. And so I did have some previous discussion, but I think I want to get it into the official record with the reading, and if our fire department representative can elaborate on that.
Sure. So our standards have changed within the last year or two, and the current standard that you referred to would be within those new standards. However, when the map came through to be approved, it met the standards that were in place at the time.
Okay. So I wanted to clarify, for the tentative track map, this is for us to move it forward for a entitlement. But when the project actually, if it's entitled and officially comes through, the site plan would actually have to be approved at that point. So the tentative track map does not grandfather the design into the system. And it didn't sound like a question, but it's a question. Is that the case? Does the TTM grandfather this design into the fire department code at the time it was reviewed by the fire department?
That might be a building department question, but my understanding is that once this is adopted, the standards that are adopted with this project would apply up until recordation and construction. But for a final answer, that's my opinion. I would have to defer to the building director.
So it's my opinion from my profession that it would need to meet new code, because the tentative is a tentative. It's a proposed map. So my concern, and the reason why I'm bringing this about, is that if we were to have to bring it up to the current code and the bulb radius is increased to 90 as it is in the current requirement, that would further reduce the length of the several of the lots, 8 through 13. And so that is a specific concern on that. And then I think one of my questions, and, thank you very much. Sorry. In my own head. I think we have a revised condition 73 already, and if I can ask you to repeat that one, I'm not sure I caught it fully.
Of course, and I know that, apologize, that was verbal. It was very last minute. The revisions to 73, is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Subsequent to approval of the tentative track map, the applicant shall provide an analysis for the implementation process to develop the open space area to create equestrian facilities as described within the staff report. The location and design of equestrian facilities shall be subject to review and approval by the Community Development Director and the Deputy City Manager, Director of Community Operations.
Okay. I'm uncomfortable with that language, or at least I feel it's a little bit lacking, because from the way that it's phrased, it sounds like the only thing that they would need to provide is an analysis. It doesn't further refine it to say that after the acceptance by the community development director, that it will be implemented. So I'm not sure how the language you want to put in there, but I'm uncomfortable with the way that it is presented right now.
I think the reason we ended up with the language we have is that because this was not, it's difficult to put a new requirement on the applicant that's not already studied in the EIR. So therefore we are requiring an analysis of it, and then the next steps would be implementation, and that would need to be negotiated, I assume, with the applicant.
So this kind of goes back to my concern with the original language, is that it is very, very vague. It just says that it will provide an equestrian amenity as a round pen or public arena, and it doesn't really define size, shape, any accommodation, any of that. So I would like to see that refined, and it sounds like you guys are looking to refine it, but I wanted to go a step further and say, after it's refined, that they actually need to provide it. That's all I have for staff right now, and then we have our discussion.
Do you have questions for staff? Dennis, just for staff? Yes, okay, please.
Okay, on this, the toxic cleanup of the area, they're proposing bringing in 48,400 cubic yards of fill material. Who is going to be the inspector of record that stops just the cover-up of this, of the mess that they gotta clean up? Who's gonna follow it up to the point where it actually is cleaned up and it's not just covered up with truckloads waiting to dump their loads?
The city has multiple inspections, including before, during grading, during construction, and that, so they would monitor that. They're not doing the testing themselves. The applicant's engineer, the construction engineer, would be doing that. How that methodology works, I can't go into detail. It's not my expertise, but I can defer.
But would it be the fox watching the hen house?
Not necessarily. They're licensed geotechnical engineers, and we need to trust their certification and certainly their ethical standards as well. But I could have asked the environmental consultant to chime in on that issue and how the process might work.
So what theoretically, they will have an inspector of record that will be the go-to person on site at any one time. At any agency, anybody could go up and say, what's happening here? What's happening with this soil in this area? And that person would know because that he would be in control of all the documents. Is that correct?
On site during grading operations, correct. And then they move to the next phase, which is construction. So there would be a licensed geotechnical engineer on site.
The reason I'm questioning that is because digging back in my past, Wiley Labs had an explosion and they cleaned it up. But part of their cleanup was they brought in 100 truckloads of soil and dumped it over the top of and that's got cleaned up. I mean, it cleaned up, but so much for Wiley Labs,
Yes.
right? But, okay, anyway, that was my first thing is, on the environmental report, according to the area I read, CAL FIRE had no comment in a major part of it, and they were reserving their comments. That's in the draft report. Did CAL FIRE do a final report of everything across the board, or are they still withholding their comments?
CAL FIRE did provide conditions on the tentative tract map, but a lot of that will not occur until they start satisfying the conditions and the map is recorded. So they did identify exactly what they want through conditions of approval on the map. And those are attached to that. I think it's a final resolution in your packet. So they did respond very specifically as to what they want to see in the project.
So it's got basically at this point, because we're asked to forward this to council, our homework is to make sure it's complete before we forward something to council.
That the requirements are in place to satisfy all state codes and local ordinances. But all these studies are not necessarily completed until they record the map. For example, it says that it talks about fire severity zone maps and hazards and locations of hydrants. Those all have to be in the building plans. This come in concurrently, so we're not at that stage yet. It's quite conceptual.
Okay. Same thing with Riverside County Flood Control. They stated they don't have any input on the project at this time. At what point are we gonna get their comment to make the project work or not work or whatever? We don't know where this project is until they actually say, yeah, we've got a way to get rid of the stormwater, and we got a way to stop the Santa Ana River from overflowing into the property. We've got, what is their point, and at what point did they enter that into the environmental report?
They were given the opportunity to review. Again, we're at a conceptual stage, but prior to issuance of the grading permit, NPDES is called National Pollution Discharge Elimination System permit, would be reviewed by city staff and also submitted to Water Quality Control Board, as well as a water quality management plan, or what we call it WQMP, would be submitted as well. And again, that would be concurrent with grading permit submittal. Those are reviewed by city staff and the city engineer.
Okay. Also, it was my understanding the city of Eastvale was under the impression no real traffic study was ever done. It was a desktop traffic study. In other words, it's a common practice with a lot of the situations to sit back. They've got everything in their computer-based traffic studies. They do it all right there on the desk, and nobody ever goes out and looks at anything. And they don't know that it's really what it is or what isn't. And the city of Eastvale has expressed concern about that there was no real traffic study done. It was just basically a desktop traffic study. Yeah. At what point, or are we even going to pursue having somebody do a actual traffic study?
My understanding is that's not required anymore by state law, or by the CEQA guidelines, so no.
So if this project does at some point make a massive gridlock thing where people spend their weekend trying to get home from work on Friday, then so be it, because it worked for the moment on paper. That's how it works. Okay. I mean, might as well. Okay. Basically, everything else was answered. I thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Sarah? Shannon, you want to go next?
No questions.
Okay. Kathy?
I just have one. I'm looking at the track map and specifically the access to the PACA. It looks like from the drawings that the access is designed to be straight, direct, as is our policy, with no obstructions between the curb cut or between the driveway apron and the PACA. Is that correct?
15 feet width is required.
Okay. So in most cases, I mean, in all cases, that driveway apron does align with the drawing showing the PACA. And I think my question is really for Sam. And that is, some of these driveway accesses are at a corner of the street where the street makes a 90. And as you make the 90, that driveway access is right at the curb. Is that, right at the corner? Is that something that would get approved, or would that driveway not be required to be farther into the property? Does that make sense?
Hard to visualize.
Sorry?
I can't visualize what you're saying.
Okay. You don't have a copy of the map? How would I do that?
Come on up, we'll
Wanna
give you a
come up
copy
and
of
look at the map?
I think if you look at the lot that is on the upper right of the cul-de-sac bulb or something.
That's going to be a final engineering determination. This is all preliminary. The house might shift. Again, this project may be, once it's entitled, sold, and a developer is going to choose how he wants to lay out the house. So that driveway is going to be somewhere in there somehow.
But it has to align directly to the deeded PACA. So it's going to have to be on one side of the property or the other.
Yeah, so it looks like the packet could probably move to the other side too.
To the other side.
Yeah, so there can be some flip-flopping around.
So it'd have to
make
be,
sure, yeah,
okay.
but yeah, there would definitely need to be some type of continuity, especially with a lot like this, to make sure that it was easy to go as straight as you possibly could from the public right-of-way into the rear of the property.
Okay.
So Kathy, I just want to kind of speak to that a little bit. I'm actually okay with our current language because it requires a level access 15 feet wide. So if the developer decides that they want to put it on a weird angle and have to snake around to it, I'm okay with that. But in general, they're probably going to want to pick the straightest way
Straight route.
to
Okay.
minimize the wasted space.
Okay.
Good.
Thank you.
Just wanted to get, that's okay.
And then on Lot 64, which is the Delapia existing, sorry, existing parcel, that's an exception to the rule, is that right? Because of grade change, I assume? Because it is access, where am I? On the north end of that parcel, but having to curve all the way around the back of the parcel to get to the deeded PACA. So is that an exception because of the way that parcel's laid out?
Which parcel?
64.
The farmhouse. Oh, is that the existing one?
You're speaking about the farmhouse?
I'm sorry?
The farmhouse side, the existing?
Yes.
And what is your question? I'm sorry.
So that is not going to be a direct access to the PACA on that one parcel. Is that because of the remaining overhang? So it cannot,
I can't answer that. It'll be, it's an engineering, because that's an existing lot. The standards are,
I just wondered if that was
it'll be
intentional.
left as is.
Because it looks like the overhang is going to remain, that's on the southeast corner.
You're talking about the PACA overhang over the property line?
PACA access would be from the northeast corner, rather
Yes,
than
that's
direct.
where the entry is shown to the existing house.
And that's a grading
That it would
issue?
need to curve around to the PACA.
Okay,
But that, you're right, it's not direct.
thank you.
But because that's an existing lot, it's not really feasible.
Forming, yeah.
Kath? Okay.
Sorry, I do have
Jeff has
two,
one.
two questions. One for Teresa. This one I've asked privately, but I think it's important to read it into the record. Can you speak to there are several restrictions and requirements in terms of the land swap and the fees that would have to be paid to the city as part of that. Can you speak to how the funds would be distributed, where it would go, how that's determined?
So all of the specifics regarding the land swap are going to have to be determined by city council. I can tell you that the existing MOU had certain terms that provided for payment for a certain amount of consideration for the land that was being given and also percentages of profit over and above a certain amount, but that MOU is no longer valid, so it's all going to have to be determined by council. And I know that there are provisions in the tentative track map that address those. I believe it's at 70, the 70 and 71 say we're recommending that council work out the terms of this, but it's going to ultimately be the decision of city council.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. One question for, I'm not sure who would be better to answer this between Alma or Mark. I noticed in the proposed zoning that the original farmhouse would be revised to a R1 zone. Is there a reason why that was? Is it more out of ease rather than carving out a section that was going to remain A1? I guess my concern, not so much concern, is that I'm always thinking of loopholes and things that someone might do. So I'm wondering why that portion was not kept as a A1 versus being converted into a R1 as well.
Looking at the lot, it appears that it's large enough to be A120, a half acre. I think it was in order not to have spot zoning, in order to have a uniform zoning district along that side of the property.
And the last one, this is more for kind of everybody on board as an opportunity. Would you like to state a case on how this benefits the city? Because I think we've talked about a lot of different aspects of it, but I think it's important for us and the public to kind of hear from staff's perspective, given what financial constraints we may have, what plans we have, how this project may benefit the city.
I could start. We felt that that the project would, again, contribute to widening of Bluff Road, the extending equestrian trails, including a trail linkage to the south that would connect the park to the south. That would be between lots 8 and 9, as you see on the overhead before you. There'd be facilitating the development of a future park site that's not guaranteed. And so the enhancements to our existing equestrian trail network, the construction of new trails, the widening of Bluff Road and an intersection improvement, and also providing infrastructure for this area right now. It's somewhat of a deteriorated site, and I think we'll have public amenities that are currently not there. And I think we emphasized the equestrian trail linkages as well as the on-site. So those are that's my input, and also the objectives of the overall project that we talked about earlier there in the IR.
Okay, I have no questions left because everyone's asked them. So would you like to come up, the developers, the owner, come up and speak, please?
Good evening, council persons. I appreciate everybody's time tonight to review our project. I know your time is valuable, and we've certainly put a lot of work into this project. So I think Mark did a fine job explaining our project. Kind of, Chair, like you say, a lot of what has already been said about our project, I'm going to be respectful and not repeat it. I'd just like to say, this is a property that's been in my family since the late 60s. We operated a farm there. Everybody's heard the story. My brother still lives on the property. Just a little history that was left out. The branding that you see, the JD and the JD Ranch, it's not a fictional thing. That was actually our family brand. that was on our cattle when we operated our dairy farm for 50 years here. So it's special and important to us. And the one thing we really wanted to accomplish here was just designing and creating a really high-quality community. And I know there's been a lot of talk about, and I appreciate all the comments for and against our project. I think that's what makes Norco such a great city, is the passion that people have for it. But the things that I just really want to briefly point out is the benefits that our project provides to the city. We talked about these missing trail links, but I don't think anyone really ever addressed the extension of the extent of the trail links that we're installing. So the trail link that we're going to put in from Bluff actually runs all the way to Vine. So it's well beyond the scope of our project. And it creates I think what is rated as, and correct me if I'm wrong, the #1 missing trail link in the city of Norco. So we're going to create that trail link, and that's going to run beyond the scope of our project, in front of the reservoirs, and then all the way up to Vine, where there's a few houses that don't have trailhead in front of it. So we're going to provide that equestrian trail for the whole community, not just for the JD Ranch. And then the same thing on River, where we're running a trail basically all the way from Trail Street to River Road. We're going to do all the signal modification at Bluff. So we're going to add in, equestrian height, buttons so people can cross the street. And then the other thing that was, I think, not really addressed is that we're going to add a full signalized intersection at Trail and River. And so if you ever try to make a right at a trail or a left at a trail at the wrong time of the day, it's almost impossible to do that. So we're going to add a fourth signal. So you're going to have, and again, at the full cost of our project, and it'll be a full equestrian height crossing signal, you're going to have a signal modification at Bluff, full trail on River, full trail on Bluff all the way to Vine, another signal added, a four-way signal added at Trail and River. Then you've got the existing signal at the Lewis Retail Center and the one at Corydon. So you're going to have 4 signals in this one short patch of River Road. And I know that this is a commuting highway from people from Eastvale. And so we'll be adding in and slowing down traffic dramatically in that little stretch of road there. So there are things that we're doing that are going to certainly benefit JD Ranch and the community, but they're going to be there for all of Norco to use, and really just kind of finish off some of the infrastructure that's really missing and really needs to happen here in this area. And so that's really how this project came together. It was working with the city, understanding their needs, our needs. The city approached us with the land swap idea because of the need for these trails. And so this is how we ended up where we're at today. And again, I think it's a community we're really proud of that hopefully, it's something you guys can see to give an approval to, but we've put a lot of work into it.
Anyone have any questions for the applicant? Gee, Jeff, I bet you do.
Jeff, you got to have one.
He has a bad rep.
You talked about the financial viability of the project when it was at a half-acre lot. And I don't know if you're at liberty to share or want to share this, but what was the break-even point? Because I think there's a lot of concern over the quarter-acre lot, and I'm just kind of trying to figure out what might there be where we can have more half-acre or something like that. So I feel it would be remiss if I didn't ask the question.
Well, that's a great question. I mean, the improvements we're putting in are cost millions and millions of dollars. Horse trails are very expensive. I think people look at them and think it's a simple improvement, but a horse trail costs more than a sidewalk. So this project is bearing the weight of finishing a lot of improvements at the city that are going to greatly benefit this area, and we need to spread those costs over more units. Our previous, and not, no one here is going to cry a tear for a developer. I'm going to tell you that we're not a developer. We're a farming family that's owned a piece of property for 60 years. This is not our core business, but we're just trying to, and at the end of the day, who knows if even this project makes sense? I mean, every time you look at something, what asphalt cost or road cost, it goes up and up and up and up. I mean, fees go up every year. So we're just hopeful that we have a project at the end of the day that can be developed and makes sense. And that, you know, we don't have to come back and try to figure something out another 5 years from now. So I can't say we've got any certain metric break-even point. You know, what I can tell you is my family has been in this a long time. They're tired, they're elderly, and, you know, they want to try to make a project that actually works.
On that note, do you have a specific timeline that you're trying to achieve? And I'll put some context to this. Is personally, and I'm not speaking for anybody else, I have a concern about the proposed general plan amendment in how much exposure I feel it puts our city at risk. And one of the things that our city attorney mentioned was that there is an alternative to set up a JD Ranch zone where it would be specific to this, but does not open the door to every other A1 zone that's out in the city. And I think that would be more palatable to me, but it would lengthen the process. So my question to you is there a timeline that you're working with, or are you willing to kind of, if that's something that we up here decide, is that something that you guys would be open to?
Well, I can tell you our ownership group ranges in age from 70 to 85. Our timeline is urgent. And you know, like I said, this isn't our core business. We're not developers. You know, we have self-funded this entire project, this process, and it's been a huge burden on our family. So, you know, any delay is costly and in financial, you know, commitment and just in time in trying to get this, you know, trying to come up with a project that works for the city and that we can you know, get working on right away.
That's all I got.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions for the applicant?
No.
Yes, Shannon.
So on the quarter acres, are you planning on building two-story homes versus single-story? Do you know how much percentage as far as like two-story homes, single-story homes?
Yeah, that's a great question. Ultimately, we're not going to build the homes. We're going to, you know, partner or sell to a developer. They'll build the homes, a home builder, I should say. There'll be a mix. My assumption is there'll be a mix of single-story and two-story homes throughout the project. You know, single-story homes are rare and desirable in today's marketplace, and these lots can accommodate them. I would assume on the quarter-acre lots that we'll probably see some more two-story construction because we have the PACAs and the animal keeping, and you know, these houses are gonna, you know, they're gonna be family homes, so they'll want to have you know, room count for families. And one other thing that came up is the PACA on our lot. We can move that around anywhere to, you know, have a straight shot in there because our whole property was a PACA before. So I mean, we're fine with that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, we're going to bring it back to our commission and have discussion.
So I'd like to start real quick.
Sure.
So part of this is that what Shannon is mentioning with the single story versus two stories. And I think there's a lot of specifics that we can get into in terms of packet size, percentage of two-story versus single-story, and kind of what I mentioned about the specific plots and stuff like that. My concern is that I have a larger concern of several of these items, and I guess I'm trying to get a poll of, do we feel that we're at a point where we can talk about those specifics, or do we need to talk about the bigger?
Well, I definitely think we need to talk about the bigger thing first, the general plan versus any specific plan. And before we get into any type of specifics, don't you? Yeah, we all agree with that. So go ahead. What are you thinking? No, what were you thinking about what were you thinking about in?
Yeah, I mean, and I don't want to just be all negative on this. I do want to kind of speak on the, on kind of what I see as the benefit of this project. We talk about half-acre lots, and one of the things when I first looked at this was the amount of acreage versus units. And if you just do the pure math, it actually equals out to more than half-acre per per unit if you're just doing math. So that's maybe just for me to think about that. But one of the things is that unless someone has been watching all the our budget workshops and the city council meetings, they may not understand how tight we are managing our budget and how little there is in terms of improving these streets and trails. And so for me, I do understand that, hey, if it wasn't for this project, this area would probably not get a trail extension improvement for a very, very long time. So, and then the other part is that I know that at least one of our council members always talks about that we have a harder time affording things because we simply don't have as many rooftops per acre. And this would help with that. It certainly is not, and I don't know if the audience realize how much of our budget comes from used car sales. So it kind of goes back to my thought about CarMax as well, but it's incredible how much of our city was saved through the COVID times because of that. So all that's to say, I do see the financial benefits of it, and kind of what Bonnie was talking about when she was talking about kids growing up, what they can do and stuff like that. I do wonder about the next generation and how many of the younger crowd can actually afford a half-acre house. And so that is part of it. And so when I think about if we are ever going to put in smaller lots, this is kind of the ideal place for it, where it's right at the very outskirts of the city, where it's literally right across from Eastvale, where they have much higher density. So those are kind of my thinking from the positive sides of it. But I do think that there are a lot of concerns, and one of the major concerns that I have is the general plan amendment and how much liability, I guess. I don't know what the vulnerability that it puts our city.
That really concerns me also, because I know that it's just opening everything up. To me, it's just opening everything up if we do a general plan amendment, and I understand that's what's in front of us, but it seems like it's a big risk as opposed to specific plan, and I know that's not our decision now, but that really concerns me overall, because this is a good project. I mean, Kathy Azevedo was a very good friend of mine, and she popped in my mind for 2 or 3 days on end, looking at all this stuff, because I kept thinking, well, what would she do? She was a fighter for our town. She was our cheerleader. But she also knew that she had to, sometimes you have to bend and you have to work with what's happening and with new rules and new developments coming in. She would love this, not the quarter-acre lots, but she would love that each house, each property has a PACA, and there's a horse trail in front of it, and it could lead to more horse trails. I mean, she absolutely would love that part, so that part I'm happy about. I just don't want it to be general where we're putting our city at risk. That's what I feel about it. How about you guys?
I definitely am worried about the general plan and how loose it is worded to how they can transition from A1 to R1 with the amendments. But I definitely do like the quarter-acre lots, like he said, or housing is just going up and up. And if I ever wanted a house here, it's minimum $750K. Like, there needs to be more affordable options. And even if they don't necessarily have horses on properties, it's still bringing families into Norco, into our little leagues, into 4-H, into riding schools, still bringing people into this, even if they don't necessarily own a horse themselves. But I am worried about the general plan amendment.
Dennis, what do you think?
There is so much to digest today. I mean, this is incredible. And it's almost like saying, hey, you need to go sleep on this. You know, I mean, just you need to think about it. Rushing to judgment right now would be, I don't think it would do anybody any justice. I'm sorry, but like I said, there's a lot to really dig into here, and there's a lot of unknowns, and there's a lot of stuff hanging that needs to be brought in and tied all together. So my personal opinion is tonight is a good night to put it all in one bed of a pickup truck. Now let's take it home and then box it, you know, and see where we're at. And that's just my opinion of it.
Beth, what do you think?
Well, I think you said a mouthful, and I feel like, I mean, this is the way I've been feeling all the way along. It's just an enormous project. It's got a lot of moving pieces, and they have positive and negative implications. And it's hard to say no to part of it, yes to part of it. Obviously, we can't do that. And where can you meet in the middle? Is there a middle, or is it off center? I mean, it goes on and on. I kind of like your thought of, you know, throwing it in the pickup truck and then boxing it into categories where you can actually assess the elements of it and then come up with, you know, a balance. And the balance is the tricky part. I mean, my first thought, not my first thought, but probably my most recent thought is, you know, what if all of those parcels were equal in their square footage? What if there wasn't a quarter and there wasn't a half, but there was something in the middle, and you still came up with the same numbers? Now, that's not at all what was presented, but it kind of addresses both situations. I mean, do you need a whole half acre? But that quarter acre has got a lot of limitations, especially if we, you know, if anyone wants to go after all that is legally allowed to be done, you know, where do the toothpicks fall? Because that's all you're going to have room for is some toothpicks. I know, I feel like this is a very good first run. I know that's not what, you know, we're supposed to be about, but and we've had a lot to digest, and we've been given plenty of time to digest it. I mean, we got early notification on part of it. Yeah, I know I'm not ready to say I'm sure of what my answer would be, because there is so much good to it, and there's also, you know, legitimate drawbacks as well.
Shannon?
I feel the same way. I have mixed emotions. There's some good and some not so good. So I think more time might be best.
So I'm not against the idea of continuing it, but I just know from my time on the other side of it that when it is continued, I would appreciate clear directions on what we're hoping to achieve with the extra time. And also to be able to voice to the applicant, what are our primary concerns that we're hoping that they can potentially solve or address it the next time it comes back. So speaking personally, I have some reservations about the EIR because of the traffic. And I understand that there is a statement of overriding, and ultimately that one is us recommending to the city council, and city council has to make that. And with the general plan amendment, again, it has to go to city. But on that one, I stand more firm in that I feel like we need to take a stronger stance before we pass that on to city, where I feel like
So they
that
know what
is a
direction
concern.
we want.
Yeah, but in terms of the actual project itself, I actually think that it does a good job trying to address what the residents have said. I think having half-acre lots against Sundance where you're having that transition, and then having the quarter-acre lots basically being on the interior of it, and the idea of having a nice gateway into Norco from Eastvale are positive things, as well as having a nice trail on it. So in general, I'm okay with the project. I'm just not okay with the greater implications of that.
I think we should have it come back next month, but I do think we need to have some specifics of what we want.
Well, I feel like I've been very specific about my
I
concerns,
know, but
I think
what do we want? Do we want just more time to review? Do we want some answers for certain questions? What are you guys thinking? Shannon, we can start with you. Do you have any specifics?
I mean, I think it'd be nice to have a happy balance between the half-acre lots and the quarter acres. Because right now, you've got more half acres than quarter acres, so maybe a happy balance.
I mean, more quarter acre.
More half acres or some kind of in-between to make it more, I guess, balance as a whole. And then maybe more of a recommendation on a Pacific amendment as far as the zone change instead of making it such a broad one, so nothing comes back and opens Pandora's box.
So commissioners, I want to just say, as we're discussing a continuance, that if there is going to be the idea of additional evidence, we'll want to go ahead and have a motion to reopen public comments if the commission is going to consider. The other thing is, at this point, it's really, do we recommend approval and send it forward to council? I think that's going to, any major modifications to the plan are going to require a brand new EIR, right? So, yeah.
Right.
Just want to kind of.
Right, we don't want to have to do all.
And that was going to be my kind of question is knowing that that the applicant has a timeline that they are looking at, there may be a preference for us to come to a decision on either approval or denial as presented, because either way, it then moves forward to council. So I'm.
Does anyone feel like they want to make a?
But here's the thing, this is kind of a question for the applicant on where they would like us to go, because it's one thing if we continue it to try to get it to a position where we're more comfortable with it, but ultimately, it'll still have to move to council.
Oh, yeah, it's not our decision.
So I
It's
don't know if they'd rather us to simply make that call tonight so that it does move the
up to
ball
them.
forward.
It's up to
Yeah.
us to make the decision, not them. Does anyone feel comfortable making any motion or deciding what we're going to be doing? We can make a motion and deny it or reject it. Sarah, what are you thinking? I see you nodding your head down there.
Well, I just think the only point to continue it would for us to be thinking more. They obviously want to get this moving on, so I feel like we should have a accept or deny tonight. So, I don't know. I like the project. I think the greater implications of the general plan amendment is just opening it up way too much.
It's going to have to be up to you, kid.
Chair,
Well, because,
Chair Hedges, if I may, if
Yes.
You do make any motions to deny any aspect of the project, you need to do it with each resolution and state clearly your reasons for your recommendation. The reasons for approval are already in the resolutions, of course, but if you make an alternative recommendation, you'll need to state why.
correct. Well, that's what I'm asking. Let's take a poll. Would you rather continue it or make a resolution, Shannon? No, we're all gonna be on the same spot. It's okay.
I'll say it first.
Okay.
Continue.
You say continue. Continue.
I don't feel that we're ready to.
So you wanna continue also?
I don't think we're ready to make a decision because there's too many, there's too much hanging. It's too much, there's too much there that we gotta still
Let me
think
ask the
about.
question real quick. Those of you that want to continue, what are you hoping are you hoping for more information from the applicant or the staff? Or are you just asking for more time for yourself?
All of the above.
So if you're asking for more info from staff or the applicant, we need to quantify and identify those. So that would need to happen now because it's unfair for us to continue it and for you to just say, I'm gonna mull it over, but then them being dragged along for at least another month without understanding why we're continuing it.
Well, to start with, just the stuff that we're trying to digest tonight. I mean, just the stuff that, all the input of information we got tonight, to sit down and in our own minds and to go over this pile here and to sit there and try to.
So you're saying you don't really need more information from the staff? You need more time for yourself? I mean,
More clarification from the staff on, I'm sure we're gonna have a lot more questions as this goes on. I mean, it seems like every page you read, you find something else. It just keeps leading on and
but
on and
we
on.
can't do this for 6 months. We have to make a decision.
I'd hate to put you on the spot here, but one of the things is that we, as a commission, are charged to review this and have that ready for them. This is not a session for us to start studying it. It's a session for us to make findings and make decisions.
Correct.
It's not for us to put everybody on hold.
Right, but if we're not comfortable making that decision, then we should deny it.
There you go.
No, but I'm saying,
I
if you're
don't-
not comfortable making the decision, you're gonna have to specify why you aren't, but it would be because you don't feel like you have all the answers.
Basically, you just said it. I'm always a believer, you never say no unless you can follow it up because.
Yes, you need a because.
And at this point, the because is, if I say no, it's because I can't bring enough of this together in my own head to figure out exactly where I want to go with it. I would like to make some better suggestions, but there's so many loose ends that it's going to take some time to figure it out.
Well, so one of the things is that we are not a design body. Your recommendation is not, hey, let's have more.
We need to take a short 5-minute break. Be right back, okay? Sorry. Go ahead, sorry. Hold your thoughts.
Yeah, I'm going to say what I would say and see if you guys have stuff to add to it.
Okay.
Okay, so in lieu of the motion to deny because we don't have enough info, I feel like we do have enough, but there's caveats to each one of these. So for Resolution 2025-330 is to certify the EIR. My concern with the EIR and why I would personally not recommend it is because of the finding for the traffic. That is something that I don't feel justifies the finding that it meets all the requirements. I understand that there is a statement of overriding consideration, but that is not for us to make. And so I would say that I would not recommend this resolution because of that. Are there
Everybody-
additional inputs on that they want to add to that?
Anybody want to add to that one? No? Okay.
Okay, so I'll do it one at a time. I will make a motion to deny Resolution 2025-30 under, due to the condition that we do not agree with the finding that the traffic impact and the VMT analysis supports the finding that the project does not impact the area traffic pattern.
I'll second. Yes.
And then a second, Chair. I will call for a vote. Member Hutnick?
Yes.
Okay. Member Fiore?
Yes.
Member Chazicki?
Yes.
Vice Chair Shu?
Yes.
And Chair Hedges?
Yes.
Motion for denying Resolution 2025-30 passes unanimous.
Okay, so the
Was the
next
second
one,
one
I'm gonna
biased?
do
Okay.
the rambling again.
No violence.
So the zone change, the zone change and general plan amendment, I would be making a motion to deny based upon the condition that the additional conditions put on 2.2.1 D and E are too vague or insufficiently specific, I guess. And I would also want to see the zone change map to retain the original farmhouse as A1 rather than R1.
Well, and also, we would like to, we think that the general plan amendment is too broad.
broad.
It should be more of a specific plan. That's one of the reasons, correct?
Correct.
Anything else we want to add to that? Okay, go for it.
Okay. I will make a,
Wait, I'm sorry. Would this have the lot size in it, or is that the tentative map?
that is the,
I'm sorry.
that's the tentative track.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, so I will make a motion to deny Resolution 2025-31 with the reason that the general plan amendment 2022-02 is insufficiently specific on the additional conditions required to allow the revision from A1 to R1. as well as the revision being too broad of an application to the city in general. And also to request that the zone change reflect that the original farmhouse to retain the A1 designation due to lot size compliance.
I'll second that.
Member Hutnick?
Yes.
Member Fiore?
Yes.
Member Shaziki?
Yes.
Vice Chair Shu?
Yes.
And Chair Hedges?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimous.
Okay, I'm gonna need you guys' help on this last one, the 2025-32. My reason for it are purely technical in terms of what I discussed about the tentative track map on the condition for the 200-foot length for those specific lots, as well as the consideration for the cul-de-sac. But personally, I feel that the design with the quarter-acre interior of it, I'm okay with those. So I don't know how you guys would want to phrase
How
that.
would you word that, Shannon? You would prefer to have them,
I would prefer a little bit more mixture of the lot size and do a little bit more little half acres, if we could possibly, within the track map itself.
Could we be more vague and just say that it is inconsistent with our lot size requirements?
well,
Yes.
but that we would, couldn't we be more
yes.
specific where we could say we would like to look at something that would even not be just half or a quarter, maybe it could be third or, you know what I mean?
Well, I guess we would be sending this to city council, so it would be our recommendation then.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. that's-
It would be a recommendation, and essentially, the findings on the tentative track map are that it is, without the other two, it is inconsistent with the general plan in general.
Okay, then we could
Yeah.
just, yeah, okay.
Okay. So, still trial run right now. To make a motion to deny due to the denial of the previous two resolutions, this resolution would be inconsistent with our city general plan. And our recommendation would be for the city council to review potential mixture of lot sizes,
Not just strictly half or quarter.
okay?
I don't know if we can say that, but, you know.
And one of the things that we didn't specifically discuss is, and this is kind of should we get into specifics on this, is that within this, there wasn't a lot of information about the architectural standards. I know that the city has design standards that we have, but there are specifics here in terms of the 2-story, 1-story, et cetera. I would recommend that there be a architectural standard developed for this as well. Okay. We're okay with that?
Did you get all of that, or does he have to repeat it?
I've got all of that.
Oh, good.
What? You got it?
I'm going with everything because I have to.
So do I need to repeat it?
If you want to repeat it.
Oh, you'll never
No, I don't
remember.
want to repeat it.
Okay, I've got it.
I'll second that.
Have it.
Good for you.
And it's on video. Okay, Member Hutnick?
Yes.
Member
Yes.
Fiore? Okay, sorry. Member Shaziki?
Yes.
Vice Chair Shu?
Yes.
And Chair Hedges?
Yes.
Okay, and that motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
We'll now continue on to 6. Any communication? What? Oh, sorry, was there something I missed? Alma?
No, I was just going to say something on the communication part.
Okay, we're at the communication part. What are you gonna say?
Yes, so I just wanted to say to the planning commission, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to, to be a part of the planning department and ultimately, chairing the planning commission. And I'm gonna miss coming Wednesday night, so maybe I'll just watch it, I don't know.
I think you ought to come once in a while, just
But
sit
I
in
just,
the back.
yes, but I
Go.
I go away very, very thankful and very, very,
Well, we've
very
enjoyed
full.
having you. We'll certainly miss
Yes. And, and God bless City of Norco and Planning Commission, and thank you so much.
you. Thank you, thank you. Anyone have anything they want to agendize for next time, or commission? No? Okay, well then we are adjourned. Thank you very much.